Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the All of Gamers podcast. It's a weekly podcast where we basically talk about Xbox achievements and this week probably some Game of the Year chat, or at least starting with it, because we're getting, we're midway through November, which is fucking scary. This week, I'm joined by the relentless redesigner Cameron.
I've left it alone this week for the majority.
Yeah, this week, yeah.
Forza has been a great distraction.
And Sony's first and last line of defense against any anti-PlayStation sentiment.
The only person Sony will never speak to, trust me. I'm an outlier. I'm like that guy that got onto Twitter, made an account just to hassle Sony Australia, tell them how great the Xbox was. I'd never buy a PS5. Along comes the second lockdown. Thank Galatas for that. And I buy one from the scalper, and Sony just laughed the whole way to the bank.
Exactly, yeah. They always, house always wins, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd do a Neo and not buy any new games anymore for PlayStation because I'm buying them all on the Xbox. But now, Sony win again. They're good. Oh, Jimmy Ryan, champion.
All right. Well, without any further ado, Cameron's going to transition us to a super easy song of the week that he's definitely going to get. I used to think maybe you'd hunt me. Now, Baldy, I'm sure. And now I just wait till the day when you kick down my door. Now every time I hear something going on, gotta keep looking round.
That's a tough key change.
'Cause I just know you are about, probably dressed like a clown. I'm running from Hitman. Whoa. I'm running from Hitman. Whoa. I'm running from Hitman. Whoa. And it won't do any good.
Yep, sweet. I know it.
That went for longer than most of my platinums do, sir?
I mean, look, there is a reason why I usually do one or two takes and then just send it. I don't listen back to it. So, I mean, and the thing is that because I don't, watch the streams afterwards or anything like that, I just skip over that bit. So as good or as bad as they are, it's really the listeners who suffer.
No, I thought it was good. I thought you did a good job this week.
Yeah, I was relatively happy with it, this one. We'll throw to Cameron. Cameron, do you happen to know what the song is?
It's Walking on Sunshine, but I don't know the artist.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. We'll give you some points for that. CJ, do you happen to know the artist?
Not really. So I cheated. Is it like Crystal Wave? Is that something like?
Yeah. It's. I think it's like Katrina and the Waves. I think it is.
Yeah. I didn't want to go out on a limb and say that because then if it was wrong because they were like covered in a movie, you would know I cheated. So
fair. Yeah, fair.
But Cameron, did you know? I didn't know it until the chorus. Like I knew it, I could hear it. But I just didn't know it. And then
I had that tip of the tongue the whole time through, and then the chorus hit me.
Yeah, it was good.
Because I'm like, it's walking on something, and I was thinking like walking on rainbows, over the rainbow. No, but that's usually just how my train of thought goes. Completely down the wrong alley.
Song again. Another great suggestion from Charlotte. I did write this one myself for a change, but yeah, okay, great.
I'm still waiting for the Scotty Doesn't Know cover.
I've been trying to make them more themed recently to be on things that I've been playing, rather than just some random gamer score bullshit that we usually talk about. But Scotty Doesn't Know. Okay, that's going to be an interesting.
What's a game that we play that's all about infidelity?
I'll let me see what I can come up with. All right, well, let's get into having a chat with CJ here.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Avril Lavigne, Pony Boy. To be honest with you, I think that's a really
fuck. God damn, it's always fuck. That's a brilliant
song.
That's a fantastic one. I could have done the whole song. It would have been so easy. The lyrics would have just written themselves basically.
I wonder whatever happened to her. You don't hear about her anymore.
Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, she's still around.
Yeah, she started big. Oh well, not big again, but she's bigger than what she was. She had I don't want to say cancer. She had some kind of condition for a while there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't hear anything about her.
Yeah. This is totally off topic. But
oh god!
I thought we were going to get some Gloria Gaynor or some Bette Midler or something. And I was
she has Lyme disease. That's what it is. She has Lyme disease.
No,
Let's take it a turn. But
that's fun factors today.
Well, yeah.
Singers of the musicians of the 2000s. Where are they now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that we haven't got MTV to basically tell us.
Yeah.
They're too busy chucking out sitcoms. Terrible sitcoms. 16 and me and my kid.
Oh God! Look. I'll try and steer this in a direction that makes people want to listen to more rather than just turn off immediately.
I'm a bit worried about Cameron's selections because I know you do the movie thing and like he watches nothing, as we found out the other night when he told me. But he's labeling all this music and he goes, "Oh, have you ever heard of this last night? Have you ever heard of that?" He's probably bullshitting me, and then he's like, "Oh, it's a YouTube person." I'm like, "I've never heard of any."
I was trying to explain.
I don't know. Like Neo, you would not have known. None of them are obviously classy singers at all.
Okay. In my defense, I was trying to explain to him Charlie and the Unicorn. Charlie the Unicorn.
Yeah, but then there was another one and another one.
I mean, like Charlie.
Look, we don't need to trudge up early 2000s memes, all right? We're already dating the podcast by talking about Avril Lavigne, for fuck's sake.
You got to remember, I'm twice both your ages combined. So, as if I'm going to know that.
That's true. I'm surprised that, did you get your Xbox on a discount at least with your veterans and services?
Like at 80, if you can... Oh, shit. No, it can't happen anymore. So that's why I play. I get all this shit for playing Rattle. I can wait till you're 80 and see what you guys can do. Hey.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm hoping by then they just put me in some sort of vat and I just get trash games beamed straight into my mind.
Yeah, you can't take anyone seriously that has less plats than their age, and it's always these people that are like commenting as well. It's like, look at this
that's probably a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I can go with that. Yeah. Well, CJ, let's talk a little about you then. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What are you known for?
What's your credit card details?
Yeah, exactly. Mother's maiden name, all that stuff.
I mean, I've seen your collection. You've got money to spend, buddy.
Well,
the money's been spent, I think, is the other thing.
That's right.
People don't get rich buying games. I'll tell you right now.
See, you guys are lucky on the Xbox. There's no games, so it's not expensive. You don't have to buy anything. But one of you, I don't know whether it was you or I'm sure it was maybe Cameron or it was one of you guys anyway. And someone said made the comment or something. Oh, it was Memph. That's right, Mephisto. They're soon to be whatever number one. Maybe we'll see. I'm not convinced, but we'll see. You still look quite healthy, so and you're a lot younger than him too. So I think
got time on my side.
He does have a child though, so it's a bit of dodgy.
I was gonna say once those kids get prime gaming time in.
That's right.
It's gonna be like you're staying home from school today, Timmy.
I mean, mate, look, as long as I can put on my TA status that I'm the number one oceanic gamer score of person who only plays on their own tag by themselves without having their children play games for them. I mean, it's a bit long to fit in the status, but I'm sure I'll work it out.
It's so funny. Like, I know we'll get onto the boring stuff about it if you want in a second, but it's so funny because like, I know it's like a can of worms. It's definitely a can of worms on the PlayStation side about do other people play on your account? And I'm not talking about like, team accounts, other people, but like even like family members and, like my sister, whatever, my kids or whatever. And it's like a whole can of worms. The higher up the board you get. And I don't think it is on the Xbox. But I don't know. I don't know enough about it, if it is a thing or not. But it definitely on the PlayStation side it is. And so I know it's not a claim to fame, so I'm not being egotistical. But like for me on my account, it's been really important that I earn every single trophy. Now, sure, you do boosting, you do things, but I was there, and I've always been about like. And I'm definitely not a completionist, as you guys know. So it's pretty clear there's no one else playing on my account, or they would finish things. But I always think, and I said it's not like a egotistical thing, but it's a great record that for whatever reason I got bored, it was too hard. Something else came along, a new shiny. That's where I stopped. And like the True Achievement site does it as well. So does the profile site, where you can sort of go back and see when you played a game, the days, the years and stuff. And you can go, oh yeah, I played it then. And I know it's silly, but we're all sort of hardcore gamers. And like, so you might have been going through something in life or work or something. And you're like, oh, I remember that. And I remember playing that game and that was really cool at the time or whatever. And I always think, these people that, give other people your account, even within your own family, it's like, I suppose it's cool because it's a mixed effort, but it's not really reflective of you. So yeah, that's how I suppose that explains me. Yeah, like how
I definitely and it definitely happens on the Xbox side of things. Like the discussion comes up. I mean, you have the controversial stuff around like the True Achievements competitions where you have I don't know how much I want to get into actual names, but there was there was a certain team where the joke going around was the idea was it was supposed to be a team of 3, but it was really just 3 people on one tag, and they obviously misunderstood the rules. But yeah, so I mean, like it definitely happens, right? Like it's definitely like a discussion that comes up. Like I remember, like, and this is going way back with even when Stallion, like Stallion used to do a podcast a long time ago, with Pegamus Prime and a few other people at the top of the leaderboards, and they would talk about like, hey, you know, where do people sit? How do you do your rankings? Where do you draw the line? And there were I think there was like a couple who were like pretty high on the leaderboards, but they were very open about the fact that they both played on the same tag, and it was like, hey, you know, like it's a different thing, but like as long as you're open and honest about it, and you're like, hey, look, this is the best thing I do, etc., etc. But I mean, you could take it all the way back to being like, well, like, who kind of gives a shit at the end of the day? Like,
of course,
the leaderboard stuff is like, well, like it's like I you know, I tout on about the number 1 Oceanic every now and then for a laugh, but it's not like I do that. I've got that high game score for me at the end of the day. Like it's not actually about like, I mean, yeah, if there's money on the line, that's a different story.
Yeah. There's not. Oh shit!
No,
trouble,
free console? Yeah, that's
what all these games. Are you telling me there's no payoff at the end?
No, absolutely not.
What's the country club like? At least is that all right?
Yeah, well, it's you know, they say it's very lonely at the top. You know, but
I wouldn't know yet.
No, exactly. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah, but it's the thing where it's like at the end of the day, like I didn't get to, you know, 1.8 million or whatever because I was like, oh, I want to be number 1. It's just kind of something that happened. Now, I'm not saying that's the same experience for everyone, right? There are definitely some people who are like that's my goal. Like I want to do this, or I want to be number 1 here, or I want to get this completion percentage, or I want to hit this ratio, or whatever you want to do. Like I get that. My goal has always just been complete as many games as possible and just, you know, fuel the addiction and you know, keep the blinders on for the rest of my horrific life. So
I love that.
Yeah, so it's like it works. I mean, that's not to say I don't engage in some friendly competition every now and then when the gauntlet's thrown. But yeah, I mean, like I'm thinking like back to Guitar Hero, for example. Like my brother is amazing at that game, and like, you know, I started Xbox when I was 15, and so he would play on my tag with me, right? And it's like, so like a bunch of something like I was like, hey, I cannot do this song. Like I can't beat this song on 5-star expert, and he would just eventually go and do it. And it's like, yeah, like you know, like that's probably not the most. It's not like, oh, I've done every single achievement I've ever earned on my tag by myself. You know, it's 100% legit, all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, sure. Like I've had friends help me in terms of boosting sessions. I've had my brother help me in terms of stuff. I've had like my friends co-op with me and stuff. So it's like, okay, like it's more a collection of yeah, like you said, memories and like experiences over the last almost 15 years at this point. But like, I guess like people get different things out of it, I guess is
of course
what I'm getting at. But again, back to you, CJ, because again,
nice diversion, buddy.
No. Well, the reason I bring it up is because I'm a little different, like, to you guys and to a lot, like, you know, we had the show before and a lot of gamers I spoke to, in that, you know, I played, like, as a kid, like, my parents were not into games or you know, back in the dark ages, 2 PCs, and my dad got this PC, and all I really remember about it is that it had a 40 megabyte hard drive, but it was amazing back then, because this is the 80s, you know, 1980s, people, not 2000s. And so it was amazing or whatever, well before the internet. And the only game, like, the only game we had was this thing called Captain Comic, which I'm sure is long gone in the annals, as like a dreadful side-scrolling platformer. And it was amazing at the time, but so all you had to play, and I think it maybe had no end, or maybe we were just really bad and never got there. And it was such a funny experience because the computer lived in a separate room of the house. It had its own room, big thing, small room. You know, it was but a small member of the house, but it was important. And the kids up the road, they were really into it. They had all sorts of systems and everything, so it was awesome to go up there. But they'd come down, and we'd all take a turn in playing it. And, you know, you'd die, and then the next person would jump in the seat. And so this would go on or whatever else. And then my mother would come in, like, it felt like it was 10 minutes, but who knows, might have been an hour or 2 hours. And she's like, get off that computer. And so, because you're sitting there, so you'd have to run up the street. Everyone would have to run up the street, run back down the street. Then you could play again for a while. Then she'd come, get off that computer. Everyone run up the street, run down. And there's like, between my brother and then there's about 4 or 5 of them up the road. So there's a lot of kids in this small room or whatever else. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But so, and then after that, I didn't like really game at all with studies and stuff through university. And so I didn't definitely didn't get into any trophy hunting or serious gaming until like late PS3, but really not till the PS4, so like 2014. So it's a big sort of gap. Like, I know I played Little Nintendo or something, but nothing, didn't own systems and stuff. And it was really funny because like I had this PS3 and I remember it was never connected to the internet, so I didn't know about, trophies or any of this garbage or online or other people on this thing. And I think I was playing Last of Us at some point, the first one on the PS3. And the game is very cheap, as you guys know. You play the through, it gives you like 3 achievements if you don't do the stuff they want. And they came up, and I'm like, these things are so annoying. Get out of the way. When it came up once or something, and then I don't know how I got on to. Is it okay if we mention site names? I don't know.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So I don't know how I got on to PSN profiles because I didn't really know any gamers per se, like my friends group or whatever weren't really into it, and a lot of them, they were talking to Cameron last night. So I was about 34, 33 when I started. And part of the reason was me and my partner, we had so much time because we don't have kids and everyone was having kids at that sort of time. And they're at home at night, so you're not going out so much. And I was like, it's like a gateway drug, if you like, into it. And so, we'll get into the PS4 and I somehow got onto that site, which is a mixed bag. And then I found out about these trophies and I found out there was communities and there was like, it wasn't just like play the single player game and then maybe go and buy another one in a year. And, play the next Assassins, or I think it was PGA Tour Golf back then that I played, or whatever. And then it did slide from there. I remember getting like my first platinum, I think was 2015. And I got the Assassin's Creed, the French one.
Unity.
Yeah, Unity. And I really, I know people broken game or whatever else back then, but it was really fun. And have you guys played that one? Or
I played it around launch, and honestly, it wasn't that bad for me other than I think it crashed like 2 times. Yeah. But then you'll see other people and it's just like the whole face model not
the missing faces, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good memes.
But that, back then, PS4, if it could do a face or not, it's cutting edge technology. Today it's the same thing. If a PS5 can animate the face, it's unbelievable. But we're not talking about the Xbox here. Big differential in those two systems. But it was amazing. Whatever. And there's a section in that you probably wouldn't have bothered with this, Cameron, because your achievements they just happen around you. You don't bother, focusing on them. But Neo, perhaps there was a trophies for doing the co-op thing in it, where it was like a co-op missions, I think.
Yep.
And one of them, from memory, it's loose memory, it was you had to, I think, perform assassination with all 4 people.
All 4 at the same time. Yep.
And of course, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just randomly getting a game. And I was like, I remember reading that trophy. Like, what the chances of this actually happen? Anyway, sure enough, it happened randomly or whatever. So then, I think that was the hardest trophy if you didn't want to communicate with other people, and those missions. And they worked back then. I think later they broke or something again, but they did work at launch, so you could get those things. So I got that platinum, and there were like 300 red chests. And I remember at the time thinking, well, I'm not going to be a completionist because this is the last time I ever do something like that. And thankfully, Radalaika came into my life a few years later. never had to, but yeah, no, it started from there. And I met these guys, Americans, again with work. I used to play really late at night, younger as well, so I could stay up. And I fell in with these American guys that weren't like massive trophy hunters, but they were like, not real gamers, but they played long games, I suppose, and online games, the CODs, all that. But we got into playing the Crew, the original Crew, and of course, Australian internet. I get that game, I think it was January. It feels like it was January at the time, and it didn't work. It wouldn't work, it just kept loading up in the thing. And of course, I don't understand computers, but I understand enough to troll Ubisoft on their forums. So I get in there and I'm like, your game's broken, wasted my money, blah, blah, blah. Bash them for a couple of days and then realized it was actually the router and the internet here. It wasn't, because I'm like, how does everyone else in the world not on this forum going, this game is bullshit, it doesn't work. It must be working for someone.
In your defense too, Nikita started up Riders Republic the other day. And just having to connect to Ubisoft Connect now to actually play one of those games is a pain in the ass.
That's Ubisoft in a nutshell. Nothing's changed, really.
But yeah, so it wasn't their fault. It's totally my fault. But then, so I sold the game because that's what I tend to do. When things piss me off, I get rid of them out of the house. And so I got rid of that. And then also, like I often do, I rebuy games later that I got rid of for some sick reason. So I did that. But I'm really glad I did because I met these guys. It's probably my only decent platinum, if you ask anyone, because it's not difficult. It's just long and requires other people. And it's a bit glitchy and that. But it was such a great game. I really enjoyed that game. And I know, like, your first big game, you're like, it's like you remember it, everything else, whatever. But I thought, and I'm sure if you played it now, it'd be garbage. But at that time, I thought this is exactly the sort of game I want. It was the first game I'd played with other people I didn't necessarily know. Like, you just met through talking. And we met a whole range of people in party chats. And then, that led to me meeting... And I talk more about the people that I met because the game's the same for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
I met this English dude he still plays today, Warlord. He's probably the best racing or sim racing gamer on the PlayStation. Amazing guy, and the wheel and everything. And he was actually involved in cars in his real life. And because, my extent is, trying to back the car out of the garage and not hit anything. So it's, interesting. Like, I played Drive Club, you bash across the things. So it was really good to actually learn because Cameron, you'd probably find this amusing, but I used to think that car games and real life cars, there's no correlation, like just because you know how to drive a real car doesn't mean you'll be, better at that, like really know how to drive. And he, explained apexes of corners, accelerating in, out, lines, how the gears work, how adjusting, the car and stuff as well. And it was really eye-opening. I'm like, wow, these games are quite deep, they're not just, like just push the button, rattle like all the time. And so that was really good. And he had a friend, Kaylee, American, who was really into JRPGs and Final Fantasy series. And I'd never heard of them, never played them. And at the time, because I was getting heavier and heavier into gaming, and a lot of friends are like, well, just be careful, there's people.
Gateway drug.
Yeah, that's right. And then some guy goes, look, you don't. And ironically, this is a good mate from Canberra, is number 2 in Australia for a long time. And he's like, look, you just says it's fine. Don't listen to them. He said, just whatever you do, don't start an MMO. As soon as you start an MMO, you're gone. These people live their best life in an MMO. I'm like, I'm not touching an MMO ever. And
that's when I started Neverwinter.
Yeah. Well, I was scared of JRPG. For you, that's right.
Yeah.
But you still play that, don't you?
Well, I mean, play that, right? Like, essentially, I have 3 achievements left, and I log in every day to get my key, but it's like I don't put any time into it anymore because it's complete trash.
I'm fortunate. I did MMOs before achievements were a thing.
That's the smart move.
And then you realize that they're going to cause financial ruin in your life, so you quickly kick them to the curb.
Yeah. Well, I don't know financial, but it's definitely like, it sucks the time up, doesn't it? That's the big thing.
Well, that's the thing. You're either investing in time or money. It's one or the other.
And sometimes it's both. Which Neverwinter free-to-play stuff is insidious.
Yeah, that's right. So you still get trapped in it. Yeah. So got into a bit of JRPGs and suddenly realized, who would have thought that I like perverted things, and to find, the funniest thing too, like at the time, like I wouldn't watch animations, any animated movies. Like I was like, this piece of shit, it's not even a real movie, I'm not watching this garbage, like where are the real people? And now I spend hours playing video games. Who would have thought? But you're the same. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Do you watch anime now, or you?
I do. Yeah, I'm a huge fucking weeb, but it's like it wasn't something that I was super into. I mean, again, like it was the same thing around most of Cameron and I's age group, where it was like, Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z were really the only two. Like they were the 2 things on television after school. So it was like, oh, cool, I watched those, but I wasn't really like a big anime fan until later down the line.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Because
these days it's
watching
all just Bluey.
Animation. Yeah,
it's all just Bluey. Yeah,
it's still animation. Yeah, it's
I guess
good. I hear. Yeah. Animation, whatever. So, train of thought. See, I'm not used to actually talking. I'm used to like just putting the question and coming back 20 minutes later and going, oh, you're still talking about yourself. Carry on. Wonderful. Wow, now I've fallen for the trap too, but. So anyway, so JRPGs, and of course, like it leads to other games, and it's funny because Cameron, he sent me a list of games the other day that he was interested in picking up, and I like one of the more you play games, and like I've played so many different games, and sure, not to completion, but I've played a lot of time in different games, and he said something that really resonated with me because we're very similar, I think, in that I just want to experience, as many different things as I can. And obviously that doesn't lead to completion or high scores necessarily, but that in itself is a gateway, a drug. And in my career, like a part teacher, part, instrumental teacher, part composer, I've done all sorts of things, as every musician has to do, throughout their life. And that was a big draw for me too, is that obviously just seeing different artistic interpretations, seeing how people would treat a narrative, seeing how people would use music in games. And music is such a staid art form. Like, I know you've got your pop, all this sort of stuff. You guys are interested in rock, all this, but by and large, music hasn't shifted hugely in the last, 30 years. Like, it's incremental movements from the thing, not, as much, but, so I'm always interested in art, this idea that maybe to move forward, we have to break everything. And that's, that's happened in visual art, performance art, literature. It hasn't necessarily happened in music, maybe for a long time, at least 100 plus years. And video games is often talked about as art. And perhaps, it will be hard to know when they break video games because, and I don't mean like they don't work, but, break the fourth wall, because they're continually pushing. And I think in some ways it's the only, whether you see it as an art or not, doesn't matter, art form that is so progressive, because you've got, people over here playing it really safe, maybe a Ubisoft, as you say, or whatever. You've got your fringe indie people, you've got your one person over here that's just like got no idea if their thing's going to work. You got this guy making a 10-cent game that's garbage, but like they're all doing their own thing, and there's merit in everything, and this is what I sort of think with Cameron will find too, is that when you get down this track, you do want to try everything, and you have to decide when is the point to stop, I think, and because neither of us obviously worried about completion, because you want to see the next thing, and it gets sort of addictive. I don't know if you find that yet, Cameron, but
yeah, my stance on it has been for at least a little while now. I'm the kid that likes to, think of food for a second. Yeah, I will go out for tea, and I will be the absolute worst person to do it because I cannot make up my mind, because essentially.
Oh! I thought you were just talking about the conversation that you have to have with you while we're sitting at the table. I mean, I've been there.
No, but it's often I will go to a buffet and just get like small samples of everything because I want to sample experiences. I'm the kind of person that goes like, should I have the soup or the salad, and then constantly ponders if the other one was better. That's
FOMO, right? That's always that's the hard thing when it comes to the limited time and money that we all have. Is like, well, like I want to play everything, I want to try everything, and you're 100%. And you hear people. The funny thing about FOMO is like, often it's talked about negatively, and quite like on podcasts that I listen to, and it's talked about because often the people that are falling into it are people that you gather from listening to them over time that, financially they shouldn't be buying tons of games. They've got a lot of things going on in their life. And, and like, this is the thing, I'm quite upfront. Like, some of the people I have trophy hunted against, like the number 3 in Australia, he's a young kid, well, he's 21 or 22. And, at some point, it's really expensive on the PlayStation. It was a few years ago because you had to play Japanese VNs, you had to import them, very expensive, and this guy's a kid and he was keeping up and passing me. And I was, as I said, I had this friend in Canberra that had a massive collection that would hire the physical games out to you because some of them you couldn't buy anymore, and, but even that costs money. And I was like, this kid was trying to keep up, and it's different, when you're older, you have the money to burn on hobbies and things. And I was just like, I was quite impressed, to be honest with you, but that he could sort of keep up. And then, because whatever like people think if they listen, it is, when you focus on top end gamer score or top end trophies, it's hugely about the money, how much you can afford to buy. And, and it's got so much, like, people whinge that, oh, the systems are broken, but it's got so much fairer because you can buy these games for $5 now, whereas before you were paying $100 for the, the same thing, importing it and hopefully selling it to someone else and, or getting stuck with it. And so it's opened up that sort of level playing field so much more, I think. But then on the flip side, when you're used to spending, and I won't say the number, but, I'm sure we all spend significant anyway, so it's irrelevant. Or at least you used to, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you sort of redirect that money from, your handful of Japanese games you were buying that you didn't really understand in Japanese. Great tits though, octopuses, stuff like that. But you have no idea what's going on. They might have been sisters.
Not a clue. I just assumed they were all related, but hey.
Yeah. And then you try to take them down to old EB, and I didn't know you couldn't do this. And they're like, we can't take these. These are rated in Japan or something. I'm like, what do you mean you can't take them? I don't want them. Coming in with my shady hat on and everything else. And then I'm like, okay, look, I'll go, but look, give me those Lego things while I'm in disguise. And I'll take those Lego games as well. So I used to have a big thing about buying kids games, I was like embarrassed or whatever. So I'd always go to the store well away from where we lived and work because I don't want anyone to recognize me. It's going to be awkward to explain this game or whatever. But sidetracking hugely. But yeah, so you redirect the money, I suppose, to buy games, and you can acquire, like I know Cameron said he's acquired a huge number of games this year because the money goes so much further now. Sure, not if you're buying the $100 game every week, but if you're buying, at a good price, the sales are good if you wait, if you're happy to wait, and you can experience almost everything for a fraction of the price.
I feel like the market's gotten a lot cheaper for it. Like I think back to the start of the Xbox One generation, and I was spending I was getting Dead Rising 3 Ultimate Edition, and it was $130, $140 on launch, stuff like that. And that was just when I was starting to really dip my toes into achievement hunting a little.
Yeah, and part of that is because, at least on the Xbox side, it was that they opened it up to self-publishing. So on the 360, that wasn't an option, right? So you had to go through a publisher. There was basically a minimum of what they were going to charge for a game, and that was even if you could get your game published on the system, and if anyone ever saw it. They opened it up with the Xbox One and with the Series. Yeah. And they also realized that they had to compete with Steam prices in terms of getting people on board about growing their market share. Yeah. Because they realized that, hey, we need to bring people over from PC with all the, stuff around we're easy to use, much more affordable. But even if the console's more affordable, the games still need to be affordable. So a lot of those things that you saw is hey, this goes on sale for 67, 75% off. And it's great. That's fantastic. That's what it should be. That's what should be happening. I mean, Activision are still the big holdouts, and stuff never goes on sale. But most of these sort of small to medium sized developers and publishers realize that there's a lot of power in having a sale that runs on across a lot of different platforms, and you can see the rise everywhere. It's
funny how that differently it's changed over different systems. You've got the ID at Xbox program, you've got the introduction of Game Pass. You got the fact that backwards compatibility came in around 2015, 2016, and then dropped a lot of pricing for older gen titles. I still think it's crazy to see BioShock having an 80% off sale and still being $20 Australian.
Yeah, but it's not across the board, right? I mean, I think some of the big publishers are still just we've got gold and we're not giving it away for anything, even though everyone's already played this game and that sort of stuff.
But even stuff just physical, brick and mortar, it's so easy now to find Big W clearing out Hunt Showdown for $5-10, going into eBay and saying, I've got 5 copies of this game, will you let me trade them all in? I $20.
That's the thing, I haven't bought physical media in years. Literally do not remember the last time I bought a disc. Yeah. It's not, I mean, and that's not just because I'm stuck in the house during lockdown and I literally can't go to a store. But EB Games over here is every EB Games is now partnering with Zing, and it's going to become a Zing first store and also have some games at this point because that's where they make the money.
Even Todd, just because I'm interested where Australia's pricing is compared to New Zealand sometimes. I know months ago he was sending me manager specials and not Lost Judgment. Judgment was $5. Yeah, and it's it was a year old at that point. It's an amazing game. That's why I keep the bookcase behind me. A lot of 360 media, I know I'm not going to be able to pick up in a few years. And then the Xbox One, I may as well swap.
They have to compete with free at this point, right? Because it's like you were saying, CJ. It's instead of redirecting, you've redirected your $100 stuff into a bunch of $5 to $10 stuff, but. Which is great because it's okay, yeah, but Activision or whatever is going to come out and say, well, we think our thing's worth $100, and everyone else can go, well, then we're just not going to play it because I have. It's not like my $100 has been redirected to complete trash. I think that's the other key thing is that
Vanguard.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm hearing it's okay.
Not that bad.
I hear it's fine. But it's okay, well, maybe I don't redirect it to, a bunch of $5 games, but maybe I direct it to 4 $25 games that are nearly of good a quality, and I'm probably going to get more out of it. And suddenly I've got 4 times the gamer score. Like it's a tick, 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 tick all the way across. And you know, probably going to have better support and a better community from the development and that sort of stuff. And like it makes the process of achievement hunting and even just collecting video games and just having a library a whole different ball game in terms of like equalizing it and also like make sure that people have a bit of a diverse library and not everyone has all the same games. I remember on the 360 when I was doing, you know, early achievement hunting, like I was, you know, I started when I was 15, so I didn't have any money, but I worked at EB Games, so I could basically get all the games I wanted for the period that I needed them to earn achievements and then just bring them back. And I can say that because it's years ago now. But it was like, what I would have to do would be like, okay, well, if I want to be achievement hunting and want to get to the top of New Zealand or the top of Australia or just, you know, increase my score because I was competing with my friends at that point because this is when I first got started. And it was like, let's look at the true achievements list of all the 360 games and what's the most played and just kind of work down from there, because there was a library, but it wasn't a huge library. And there certainly wasn't a big achievement hunting library like there is now, where it was like, you know, I can look at like Mephisto is a great example where it's like when he challenged me and he was like 80,000 behind me, I was like, fuck, I need to find some games. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to look at what he's played, because chances are he's probably played a shitload of stuff that I've never even heard of. And him and I have, you know, relatively comparable gamer scores. And, you know, our overlap is probably only going to be about 60 to 70%. Like, just because there's just so many games out there now. And so many of them are affordable, and it's great. Like, it's never been better time to be in the video games. I mean, you know, there are still problems in the industry with microtransactions and predatory bullshit in terms of like how games are made and how games are sold and that sort of stuff. But right. But in terms of like the variety of games and the amount that are coming out and just the potential for picking up a library, and me not buying games for 2 years, just about. I mean, I bought a couple, but it's like, it's been like, well, like that's not even like, I haven't struggled. I've had Game Pass to supplement when I needed something new, and my backlog is of, you know, 300 or so games. It's kept me happy all the way through. And I think we're going to just see more of that, right? It's people going, well, I've invested all this money in my library. I could probably get more out of it. But again, I'm a completionist, so I know that doesn't always align with the experiences and the new and the stuff you guys are talking about.
It's all the same though. It's really good you brought up the digital, because like I've been a digital buyer for, you know, a lot of reasons, convenience, but for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. And to be honest with you, like it got like, because I'm not a collector at all. Like Cameron and I managed to get into the EB, you know,
I mean,
group.
I'm not a collector either, but it's basically I just go where the cheaper bargain is.
Yeah, I mean, so much as like I, you know, I like the figures. I like to keep the games on the shelf. Like none of that. Yeah. I'm not interested. I'm near. You know, yeah. I'd rather them not be on the shelf.
I'm minimalist for sure. Get rid of them as soon as they're done. Yeah.
And you know, at one point, you know, a few years ago, because I was just buying them then, because you know, the PS Store was quite expensive digitally in Australia. It's way better. They fixed a lot of things better, fairer now, compared to the rest of the world. But so it was definitely cheaper to buy physical. Now it's, you know, much of a much. And so I was buying them, and of course you're acquiring them so much, and like I didn't know how many I had, and we had a bit of a fight, perhaps, about that. And it was decided that I could only have 200 physical PS4 games at a time. So that was
that was the limit.
Yeah, and he's like, so how many do you have? I'm like, I'm not sure. And so anyway, I had to put them down, and I piled them up on the side, and there was like 700 physical games, and I was like, that's ridiculous. So we got rid of them or whatever else, and like, maybe bought them back digitally or whatever, but you know, like that's like I made a list earlier this year, and I think I have like 5,000 digital PS4 games, but it doesn't take the space. Could you imagine having five? Like, I mean, now I've seen what it looks like being in that EB group. Jesus, it's terrifying, these people, what they have, but you know, they're freaks. But you know, we can hide it digitally, so it's okay. But what I like about the digital side, and you always, you know, you buy digital, you don't own the game, you know, blah blah blah. I want the physical in my hand, but the reality is, like, a lot of the games, and I'm sure it's the same on Xbox, you know, you guys would know, but a lot of games don't get published physically anyway. And the problem with buying digital, you know, in the whole world, like you get to an age where you start to realize that money drifts upwards. It always drifts up. It doesn't matter what profession, what you're in, you know, money always goes up. And the problem with buying physical on the side that a lot of people see is you have to have capital to get to the physical stage. Anyway, a lot of these people that get there that are somewhat small are relying on massive deals with publishers to get there. Their back end is probably dreadful. They're giving the publishers so much just because they want it, just because physical or whatever reason. Whereas a lot of these people selling digital, sure, Sony's got its greedy hand in there ripping its percentage out, but at least they're getting more, potentially more money from this. Yeah. So there are so many of these games coming out, and I'm sure the same with the Xbox that don't see a physical, and because they're cheaper because of this, you can as you said, you can buy more and you can support more devs. And when you're only buying physical, when you're only going to EB or GameStop, wherever you're going, and you're picking everything up off the shelf, that's awesome. You're supporting all these guys that are already doing well, but these guys that really probably need your money. And I'm sure the True Achievements does this, but on the PSN profile, I know it's only a small percentage, but it gives you an idea. Some people buy it like only one person has bought the game, or two people of all the whole site, and it's a lot of people on the site. So, like that money is making a difference if only 1,000 people are buying the game, and it could be the difference between them making another game, which is going to be even bigger, like sell even more. And I think that's something that digital allows. Now, how that'll go with, these digital only consoles and the percentages increasing, I don't know. But at least, that's something that is always forgotten about when people talk about, oh, my physical. And I know most of them are buying digital too, but there is that side that you can support so many other people that will never get to market. And perhaps games is one of those few industries where the money doesn't have to drift up because it's going individually to those companies. Rant over.
It's so funny though, because this was the exact conversation that was happening at the beginning of the Xbox One generation, right? Where they came out and said, "Oh, well, we're going to do a digital console." It's going to be every disc is going to be DRM locked to your account when you buy it. So you buy the game, the resale market is gone, secondhand market has disappeared. That game belongs to you. You get a code for it, or it gets locked. It gets tied to whatever account you have, and that's it. You're done. And suddenly everyone was like, "This is the." And to be fair, I was one of these people, and they're 100% right. It was like, this is going to kill the secondhand market, which is huge, especially in countries like Australia and New Zealand, where we don't have development studios, and also most of these companies don't even know whether we could find us on a fucking map, let alone send us games for affordable prices, because pricing was nuts. And again, physical was the only way we could afford to play games most of the time, especially to Cameron's point. And internet infrastructure wasn't there to support the stuff for streaming or downloading and digital only. And also there weren't good sales. Pricing was really bad for digital. We couldn't trust them that the minute they got rid of it, they were like, "Oh, no, we'll definitely do like Steam sales. Don't worry about it." Eventually they got there, right? I think the thing is the conversation just happened 10 years too early. Like eventually it turned into more of a slow burn around, here are the benefits of digital. Here's developers pushing for it. Here's, wider reach. Here's Game Pass. Like here's all the good stuff you get out of digital. Is it worth what you're sacrificing for physical? And it's like, well, for me, like it got to the point where I'm, in a financial position where I was like, sure, I could probably get it a little bit cheaper if I went out and scrounged around for physical. And I did that for the 360. Like I went and bought all the games that I'd started but did no longer owned for whatever reason. I went and bought the physical copies of them because I found them cheap. But from then on, I was like, I'm digital only. I'm done. Like I can afford to do this. I won't buy anything unless it's on a sale for the most part. But even if it's $5 more expensive on digital on sale, I can pay for that convenience, because I can use that on both my consoles because I have the home console system. It's always there. I don't have to worry about, disc unreadable. I don't have to worry about physical media or anything. All that stuff is worth it to me to an extent. I mean, obviously if it was like $100 more, I'd be like, fuck it, I'll find a disc of it if I need to. But I like the all digital future. It was always going to be the thing. It just took longer, and it had to be a gradual change. It was that generational shift rather than a company can't come out and decide, okay, this is what's happening. Because a bunch of people are going to be like, well, why is this happening? Why do you get to dictate this? It's like, well, no, you have to. It's the piracy as a service issue problem, right? It's like, well, you offer a service, you offer a platform that's good and affordable and has the things and the conveniences that people want. People will pay for it.
That's right. Yeah. And the reality is, like, you get these people, like, gamers are awesome because they're like, you know, I'm not going to buy that game for $100 digital when I can have it in my hand for 100 and maybe trade it back one day, but I'll spend $100 on Ratalaika games that are shit and I'll play for 5 minutes. Or, you know, like, I'm a physical dude. Oh shit, I'm pissed. I'll have to.
How well does Ratalaika do on Steam?
You know?
Yeah, I wonder.
This is the funny thing. Back when I was doing the old show, I reached out to the guy that made that Concept Destruction, which was published by Ratalaika. He's a nice guy or whatever else. And the only reason I reached out to him was that he released, because Ratalaika won't release any sales data. And the guy is also very averse to coming on any podcast, which I can understand because he might get ambushed. You know, and he's done really well now, but, you know, starting off or whatever, it was a bit dubious, maybe what they were trying to do, but it's a proven model. It's doing well. So I reached out to that guy because he released a really interesting graph that showed his sales breakdown between PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Switch. And the Switch had a very high, almost 50% of the sales. Now that's it's a fun game or whatever else. And, a fun game or whatever else, but you know, it's not amazing or anything, and it's a trophy game, and I'm sure it's an achievement. That's why people bought it. And I think some of it, like I reached out and he said, some of it had to do with pricing and the sales that they did, and also, you know, Nintendo's was a better company to work with than Sony, which everybody says. But
Nintendo has the best system for indies to get into, though. Yeah, like it has the least amount of red flag out of all the consoles. Red tag. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's hard to say how they do sell on Steam. Like I don't know. You know,
I mean, I only think that because of the 2-hour policy. I know that was there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
There was an issue with I'm trying to think what game it was. There was only a few months back where it was a very short experience, an hour and a half. People were playing it, story narrative, and then going, all right, cool, I'm done, refund.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
that's a very generous policy, isn't it? Because Sony's policy is if you open the game, and they obviously can tell, that's it. That's it. There's no refund. But if you download it, haven't opened it, you're okay. And I think Microsoft may be similar, because I got burnt with that poker game that came out earlier this year. A travesty of a game at launch. Better now. It's okay now, but the servers didn't work or anything. And I played it for like a few hours, and it was unplayable. And I contacted them, and Microsoft were like, no, I'm sorry, that's it. And I was like, oh, that's right. I used it. It's fine. And they did fix it a bit later. But yeah, I think their policies are much stricter than Steam.
Microsoft is getting a bit weird with that in terms of like because of laws in the places like the EU and stuff, they have to be like, okay, a little bit more careful around like consumer rights and things like that. So they tend to toe the line a little bit depending on where you're from and where you say you're from and you know, that sort of stuff. And you know, sometimes it depends on who you get as an agent and that sort of stuff for like, hey, you know, like it's
fine. Like, you know, I can't, like, you know, I'm not one of those people that fall in the camp where the price, like I don't attribute any price to a game. So, you know, if a 1 hour game is $100, it's not necessarily a deterrent. I know that is a deterrent for some. So it's whatever that's, and I can't also take the high road and say, I want my money back when I blasted so much up on all sorts of games. So I'm not doing that in any stretch, but
sure.
You know, and I also know the number of angle shooting that goes on with gamers. So like, I understand the policies need to be firm or whatever.
I found the article for the one I was just talking about before. It was indie developer Emeka Games, and it was Summer of '58, a psychological thriller that basically got all very positive reviews on Steam, but because it was only a 90-minute completion, many players exploited the Steam's refund policy, and the developer ended up leaving game development.
I'm not surprised, but yeah, I mean, But I mean, I don't mean to be callous, but look, if you're going to pin your hopes and dreams on making it big on an hour and a half game, I mean, hey, you know, like, don't quit your day job. Maybe, I mean, like, I know I'm one to talk, right? But like, it's the thing is that like, if you want to make games, right? And if you want to make money, don't make games.
No,
I mean,
but that's anything in the creative field. Like,
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
It's like gambling, you know, in the creative field. It definitely is, because you put something out there, and the problem is, and I'm sure it's the same with making a game, it's the same with writing music, whatever else, and doing it, is you're so close to it yourself that you can't objectively see it anymore. And the problem is you also because, you know, most performers, they're a little unstable, or most, creatives are a little unstable. And so they tend to lean on, the longer they do something and work with it, it must be good. It's good. And you've got people around you that just say it's good because they're just worried about you as a person, being stable. And so eventually you put it out there, but nobody knows. Like, because you look, some games are shit house and they do really well for a few weeks, make money, and then they're gone. But, that hit point was so good that it's secured the studio. Other games are really good and nobody knows about them for 2 years.
Exactly.
So, some games have horrible launches and then quality of life patches fix them, and
that's right.
6 months down the line, they're a great experience.
We don't live in a meritocracy. Like, just because it's like, first of all, you have to make something good. Well, you don't have to, but ideally you make something good. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell well. I mean, like that's the next step. You need good marketing, and like I think that's why like Cameron and I talk about Game Pass all the time, about being not just a great way of getting games into people's hands that wouldn't normally play them, but also a great way of just telling people that these games exist. Because like it's a way of being like, hey, we have it's like, oh, this game's great. Well, like, why haven't I heard of this? It's like, oh yeah, it came out like 2 years ago. Literally no one played it. We put it on Game Pass. Suddenly it's on the front page. It's getting recommended to people on their dashboards. And people are like, oh, it's got an easy achievement list. Fuck, I'm jumping on that. You kidding me?
Yeah.
It gives such a strong sense of community at the same time as well, because like you'll have AHA, you'll have us, you'll have RGS, you'll have Remnants, etc. You'll have Xbox Cast. People will jump on and Valak a game like when it's leaving Game Pass, and then it's like, cool, there's like 15 of my mates that are doing River City Girls at the same time. And then it's essentially a forced book club.
Yeah, it's a renewed zeitgeist. Although the last time I saw 15 guys doing River City Girls, I think it was a slightly different situation.
I got the website for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting though. We're probably boring your audience, because the funny thing is though, like, this is what I love talking about games, because you can talk about trophies, achievements, whatever. It happens around the things, but I really like talking with people that play a lot of games. You both play a huge number of games or whatever else, and it's like it's the biggest danger in podcasts. You listen to them and you talk to people, is that people just like, okay, so now we'll talk some games. So this is what happens. This is the story, blah, blah, blah. I've ruined it for everyone, but who cares? And, or not even they've ruined it. Like, they've just got nothing to talk about. And then you're like, this dude hasn't even played past the first 15 minutes. It's clear from the way he's talking. And then
so frustrating too. There's so many influences that you see. And you're just like, all right, cool. Explain to me like what you felt about the game. Just like, oh, I just played like 10, 15 minutes.
That's right.
It's like, why?
Yeah, that's right. And but the weird thing is that you talk to people that play a ton, and they don't talk about the narrative too much, or that they talk about mechanics, or they talk about what they liked, and you know what they play from listening to them, and whether that interests you or not. But you also you also have respect for what they play, so you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to play that, but I get to live that game through their experience. And I don't need the story. The guy went over here and went to the farm or whatever, but maybe there's this cool mechanic you found in this game that I'll never experience, but now I'm open to it, and I think that's great. So
yeah, it gives perspective, right? Like, that's the thing, is that the more games you play, the more experiences you have, the more you can understand how they work together and understand how games are. I'm not gonna say how games are made, because that's a whole technical thing, but how games are thought up or created or
storyboarded and
imagined. Just kind of exactly, brought to life.
Well, that's why I always find funny, because like they're like, people are like, you can't play everything. You have this huge backlog. You must have all this pressure because you've got all these games. All these backlog is such a joke anyway. Those gamers are idiots. But then but I feel bad for the people that come on and they're like, I have like, and I'm not being egotistical, but like I have 20,000 gamer score, 30,000 gamer score. I have 200 platinums, and not because it's small, but because there's so many games that you have yet to play that must be. There still must be so many amazing games they have to play. And I'm like, oh, I feel bad for you, because you've got like this massive amount of awesome things, you need to get to it, sort of thing. Whereas,
yeah, absolutely.
These people with massive backlogs with big scores, like, I know you've already played a ton of stuff. I know you'll get to it eventually. Like, it's not an issue. No.
Charlotte in chat says that's her. Yeah, that kind of is a little bit. Although she's doing very, very well, considering she just started a couple months ago.
We really should, like, maybe not like next month when we're doing like our Game of the Years and that, but we should really have like a beginner's guide of like games you should experience on this system.
That's a good idea.
Like I've went back to We Happy Few the other day, and I'm just surprised how little of it I remember after 5 years.
Yeah.
To be fair, they did change the game completely from when it came out, so I'm not surprised. But,
I like that. The biggest thing like, I know we're detracting, so we'll get back on your plan of attack here for whatever for the episode. But the biggest thing, because, you know, reviewers, all this sort of stuff or whatever, is like, and when you're starting out and you're finding games, you know, no means a messiah of this, but you need to find people that you know that play like you or play the games that you play, because unless you have the amount of money and time that they do, you're never going to experience as many games as they do. And then you have to judge from what you have to trust that what they think is good, and you'll get burnt occasionally or whatever, but that doesn't mean you listen to your IGN and you go, oh, this guy is like famous, so he must know what I should play, or I listen to Macca because he liked this game, you know, and he makes a lot of shit game guides, but then he really liked this game, so it must be great. Or it's different for everyone, but you find the people that like that. And it used to be back, you know, 4 years ago, you could look at their profile to do it. Unfortunately now, because of all the shit, you can't do that, because you look at it and you go, oh, look, all they played is crap for this 2 weeks, but it's not an indication. So it's difficult. But, you know, you listen to shows like this, you listen around, you talk to people in party chats, and you're like, you know, this guy knows we're similar in what we like. And that's how you sort of do it. Because unfortunately there's just too many games unless you have, you know, Neo's sort of time to fit them all in.
And look, even I'm running on borrowed time, you know, so it's like I still don't get through all the games I want to get through. So it never ends.
The curse.
Oh, all right. Fuck, where do we go from there?
Totally derailed it.
Yeah, sure.
That's good.
Let's
knew that was going to happen.
Fantastic. Let's. Cameron, what have you found for us in news? I know it's a bit of a quiet week, but let's.
Right. I've got
which executive has touched up the latest staff member?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have anything from you.
This week in controversy was last week. That was
all right, starting off. Where do I start? That is a very good question. More games got added to the old marketplace.
Yeah, so this is kind of an odd one.
As a leak, so 11 games from the original Xbox were added to the old marketplace. And it's the first time since June 2019, when they originally announced that they were going to be focusing on the series consoles, that we have seen a leaked batch of backwards compatible games.
Potentially backwards compatible.
Potentially, yeah. So the full list of the games added is as follows: Dead or Alive 1, 2, and 3, Manhunt, Max Payne 1 and 2, Oddworld Munch's Odyssey, Red Dead Revolver, Star Wars Clone Wars, Star Wars Episode 3, and Thrillville.
Okay, just some good stuff in there, actually.
I'll be honest, I've never played any of them because I've never had an OG Xbox.
Have you played Manhunt?
I've never played
Manhunt.
That
Fuck me, yeah, Manhunt was...
That came out on the Xbox, did it? Because that was a taboo game on Sony. You had to go through Asian stores to get a hold of that thing.
Yep. I remember it was the Manhunt 2 for the Wii, where they were like, you had to use the motion controls to fucking strangle people and shit.
It's wonderful, isn't it? Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That game was brutal. It was one of those, you know, games that caused controversy in the early days of games causing controversy, at least back in the early aughts. But yeah, fuck, that takes me back. Yeah. So the Star Wars ones are good too. I like the Clone Wars game and the Star Wars Episode 3. Like Episode 3 was one of my it was one of my Christmas games or something way back in the day. It was on PlayStation 2, but same idea. I'm interested to see. I mean, they want to take this with a grain of salt, because when it comes to games appearing on the store, sometimes it is just for testing purposes, right? Like they need to make sure that these, if they're going to be bringing anything to backwards compatibility, which there's nothing saying they actually will, but there is rumors, they have to make sure that it actually runs in the emulator, that they have the rights to use all this stuff. I imagine they probably have the rights to most of the stuff, considering the deals they've been doing with Lucas, but on the Star Wars stuff. But in terms of, do they actually run, who the fuck knows? I
mean, I've said it before. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a bunch of announcements for the 20th year anniversary just to say, hey, these games are backwards compatible now, but... Yes, same thing. They could just be potential testers. We discussed it, I think, a few weeks ago as well, but the list just recently got updated.
Still cool.
Because I know that, like, with the 20th year anniversary, we're not going to see any new games. Matt Booty's already set expectations around that.
Yeah, which, again, we talked about the other week, around, like, what is, you know, the fact that they have to set expectations beforehand whenever you do an online event now is like, okay, here's what you're not going to be seeing. And they just roll out a huge fucking list of everything they've announced over the last 10 years that hasn't shown up.
I
so
like that Microsoft still clarify the word new. You're not going to see any games. That's all they have to say.
Exactly. No games. No games. It's just no games. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But what interests me, do you pay extra for backwards compatibility on the Xbox? Is that like a paid feature, or they just give that to you for free?
They basically just give it away. Yeah.
They just give it away. Imagine a console giving away access to their back catalog, not being ashamed of their devices like their handhelds and just destroying a whole generation of software. Backwards compatibility. It's a wonderful thing.
I don't think anything in the Xbox One generation got me more excited. Like when I saw Ray Replay, and I think it was E3 2015, I was like, "You sold me. I'm happy."
It's a great. It'll never happen on the Sony, because I was reading the other day that they've even lost the So it shows you how little they care about their history. They've even lost the copyright for Vita. So there's no way there's going to be any more Vita. They gave it up. So it's
shit!
Just like you think you would just pay the $5 to keep it in perpetuum or whatever it costs, like. It's just great, isn't it?
They really want to burn bridges with that.
Yeah, well, they believe in generations.
Apparently,
someone does.
But it turns out the generation they believe in is the PS4 generation, unfortunately.
That's right.
They just didn't tell anybody till after
All they did was make the PS4 bigger and put it in a white case. So,
pretty much, yeah. They made it look like Seto Kaiba.
Bloody Mick.
Yes, good meme. I'd say the only thing I want to say was the only thing, again, we're missing from backwards compatibility that we've talked about every fucking time it comes up is that the original Xbox games don't have achievement compatibility. That's the only. If they added that in, they would be.
I doubt we'll ever see it either.
No, I highly doubt it too, because it would require too much work, because they have to do some coding and that kind of stuff. And really, it's just we're lucky when we get to play them at all. But like I'd love to go back to the original Psychonauts or Crimson Skies or whatever. Like it's that extra incentive to go back and look at these old games, because. Like backwards compatibility is nice, and on the 360 is good for me because it's like, oh, cool. I don't have to keep my Xbox 360 plugged in. I've still got about 50 or so games I need to finish on it, but it's more of a nice to have at this point, just because they've already kind of done it. But as an added bonus, if that's the direction they want to go, especially considering how the libraries for next gen or current gen, however you want to say, have been a little light to say the least. It wouldn't be a bad way of getting people on board and say, oh hey, also they're coming to Game Pass, or also we're doing this, or But I can dream.
There's not really much new news about the anniversary event, but have you guys got any predictions? Just a celebration kind of thing of the last 20 years.
I mean, it's gonna just be a massive jerk off session anyway. To be honest, I mean, it's like look. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I'm massively invested in the Xbox system. Right? Clearly, they've got me over a barrel in terms of fucking taking all of my money, time, and my attention. Yeah. I mean,
I feel like the butt is gonna ruin any potential sponsorship deals down the line.
But
God damn it! God fucking damn it!
But. Fuck me, do they love to hear themselves talk when they have literally nothing to fucking say. Holy shit, can they hold a launch event in New Zealand but not set up a fucking server farm so we can have cloud gaming over here?
You know the reason. They wanted to go to Fergburger or whatever it is.
They're like,
that's all it was.
Yeah, they were like, Furburger's fucking great, man. They wanted to get some fucking skiing in Queenstown.
We have this console coming out. How can we make sure this results in us getting burgers?
Yeah, exactly. They were like, well, Hyundai got us some EVs to drive down there and stuff, and we wanted to stay up in one of the chalets. So turns out the only place we could possibly go is Queenstown. It's like they made up some bullshit about it being the first place that sees the Xbox release, which is technically true.
Do you feel cheated that Pigamus Prime had the spot on the tower?
Of course London? I fucking do. I didn't get my fucking name on the tower. When I hit my was it fucking number one in New Zealand or first million or whatever it is, I fucking sent Phil Spencer a message being like, hey mate, come on, where's my fucking name on the tower? Where's my lifetime gold? Something. And then and then I had to fight a bunch of other fucking bastards to get a free Series X and a fucking trophy that was wonky. And a hoodie doesn't fucking fit me.
He rocks up on his sheep with his console over his shoulder.
Yeah, Jesus
ready
Christ.
to declare war.
Yeah, exactly. Charlotte is 100% right. Dirty Burger is much better than Fur Burger. But like,
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, Dirty Burger's great. That's one of my favorite things about going down to Wellington. But Yeah, I'm really not expecting much. Like, I'm expecting, maybe The Rock rolls out and he's like, hey, I'm in this movie. You guys should go watch it. And you're like, okay, thanks, I guess. And he's like, hey, remember when I had hair? See you guys later. And you have like an Xbox, like an old Xbox on one arm and like a series
I could just imagine a cringe joke about the hair too.
Oh,
it's so on brand.
You have the fucking fanny pack or whatever. Like, I'm sure, like, I'm really not expecting much, to be honest. I'm sure that they'll make a big song and dance about it, but I don't think they've already said that there's going to be nothing to talk about. And like the 20th anniversary, obviously, you can't postpone a 20th anniversary. You're like, oh, it's the anniversary, so it has to happen on the date.
Yeah.
What have we got to talk about? Well, guess what? Most of our development is shut down because of COVID or because of all kinds of other bullshit. And like, our developers can't get dev kits because we literally can't get the processors to build them. So we're just going to have to make it a press event and just talk about how great Game Pass is doing, which is fine. Which
has been the last 3 years anyway.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like this is just kind of Microsoft through and through. So I'm really not expecting much.
I tell you what, it stinks though of the spoiled, privileged child because you have towers, you have burgers, you have jackets, trophies, free consoles, all these sort of things. Meanwhile, it's like the utopia on this side of green. Everything is wonderful. Meanwhile, and like this is what Phil doesn't understand. Like you're so lucky you're in second place, the Microsoft Xbox thing, because if they were leading, it wouldn't be like this.
True, you're true.
And but what Phil doesn't understand is he's trying to deal with rational people. It's like we have good deals, we have Game Pass, we have all these stuff here, backwards compatibility, better system, actually a next gen system, real 4K, or whatever this is, and like handheld, you can play anything you own a handheld with us, all this great stuff. But he doesn't understand he's dealing with a population, a massive population of ponies that just continually beat their head against the tree. It doesn't work, money. It doesn't work. Money doesn't work, and they don't care. It's like the 12 minutes loop. They just don't get out of it.
This is one guy on Twitter that does these kind of videos every single week of like him like with Xbox versus Sony, and they're just so gold because of the whole like the one this week was just sitting in front of console playing Forza Horizon 5 for like 2 hours, and then just review bashing it online, saying like I absolutely hate this game. It's like, why are you review bashing this? Otherwise, the ponies won't let me in the club. Like
that's right. all Phil needs to do, keep his Game Pass to the people with a brain. They'll utilize it. But Xbox Now, and just put like 10 games on it, charge $100 a month, and it has to be downloaded. Streaming. You can't download it to your console. And it just disappears randomly when you're in the middle of the game and replaced by another game. And if he put that there, it'd be a mass exodus. The ponies, because they understand that. They understand bad treatment and they like it. They would come across, but it's just they just can't. There's too much choice, I think. For
where's the Game Pass add-on that Phil Spencer follows me around and cracks a whip?
I think
is that what a pony feels like?
I think it was the idea at Xbox special. I think
you're dealing like not everyone on that system is toxic. Most people are.
Just
not
most
everyone.
of them. Yeah, exactly,
yeah. But you're talking to a toxic mofo when the first word out of their mouth is, so Game Pass is not really that good. Like this PS Now, this is where it's at. And you're like, it's got 800 games, of which 700 you've never heard of which 650 don't even work. And it's just like it's so ridiculous, and you can't deal with that logic. And,
my favorite has always been, well, the games aren't technically free, so and I'm always like, I'm like, okay, like let's, okay, all right, I get it. Like I see exactly where you're coming from. You're right. I did technically pay some money for all of these games.
I did potentially spend like $15 as compared to the $400 I would have spent on playing like 10 of these games this month.
That's right. That free game thing is a classic because the standard answer was, I wish I was loaded and could afford to buy them all like you on that system, obviously. I need my free games. But the greatest thing that happened was because they're always looking for something, these people, to justify their bad purchase in the PS5. And that Outriders game, and if you remember, and there was that article a few months ago about how the pay or whatever, Square didn't pay them. But, it wasn't Square, it was Phil. Phil told Square not to pay them because he put it on Game Pass. Phil has nothing to do with Square. Microsoft don't own it yet. today. They don't know.
Yes, yeah, we'll see.
And it's got nothing to do with Microsoft, that deal or whatever else. And then the misconception, it's so you're ripping off all these people. Like, why would you put your game on there? Like, you just like to be belted. Like, it's obviously like we don't understand, but it's obviously a decent enough deal that people put it there. And it's
I think it's like we always try to bring up these stories because part of it is that like the games industry is a closed system. A lot like the film industry, but even more secretive, right? Because it's like you don't know anything that's fucking going on. It's like when you see there's a chance of you driving through Norway and you see fucking Tom Cruise filming on top of a train. You're like, oh, I guess they're doing a new Mission Impossible. Where it's like oh, they're doing a new Ratchet and Clank. Who the fuck knows? Maybe, but no one has said anything about it. And if they do, a chip in their brain fucking killed them. But like. So anytime you have something like Game Pass where it's like, what's the deal? Like, is this good for developers? And you're like, well, it sounds like it must be, but people are trying it, right? I guess, but maybe. And then a story comes out and someone says, oh no, it's bad. It's bad. And so everyone's like, okay, it must be the worst thing that's ever happened. These people are being press ganged into it. And then suddenly the guy from Descenders is like, oh yeah, I put this thing on Game Pass and literally sold like 4 times as much as I usually do. Sold. I gave the game for quote unquote free and 4 times as many people bought it. And it's like, oh, also like the popularity is like way through the roof. People know about it now. Like there's all this good stuff. And it's like, oh, and like the split's really good. And like some developers are talking about, like every time we have a developer talking about what's happening in Game Pass, we try to talk about it because we're interested just to hear more about it. But like the only time we ever heard anything bad about it was this one story with Outriders, about them not getting paid for it.
Well, Mike Rose, who's the publisher, said back in May, like, it's not going to leave Game Pass for a long, long time. And that just goes to show you, like, and I guess there's so many different ways that publishers do it. It's the model of, I put my game out for 6 months and then I'm putting it in a Game Pass like Forgotten City.
Yep. There's
the doing it day one like Descenders. Day one?
No, I don't think it was day one, but like there were heaps of them.
Okay, yeah.
For sure, yeah.
But, you'll have the day ones, early adopters to getting that free marketing, essentially.
Oh yeah, we'll play it. Fuck, like, yeah, absolutely. And then you have the people who, and then you have, Rockstar, which is like, oh hey, we're gonna put it on here for a month, or 2 months or something, and then we'll rotate it out with something else, and you can buy some shark cards. Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, we got all the people start buying shark cards. All right, let's rotate. Let's put Red Dead in there.
How they've done GTA is so smart. Like, I imagine if Switch had the trilogy as well, that we would have free on Switch.
Yeah, it would be 3 on. Yeah, Vice City on Switch. Yeah, it would be the free one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking evil.
But look, we've done a lot of pony bashing, so you got to even the field, and of course there's
what can we go at Nintendo for? No achievements.
But you've got like the thing I love about like there's a toxic community on the PlayStation or whatever, but you've got some great personalities on the Xbox in the I'm not talking about the famous people, these little people that think they're massive, big mouths, massive mouths. Like I'm thinking of this Rogue 1992. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this gentleman.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and like he's I'm the fucking number whatever I am in the world, and I won this event and I won this event, and I'm like, mate, there's fucking like 10 people own an Xbox. We're talking about fucking 14 million last month or something. I'm fucking playing 14 million people. You're playing 10. Why wouldn't you win? And even this morning he sends a message. I see you're about to get knocked out of the G-Test. It's not my fault. These people are degenerates. They play too much or whatever on the Xbox side. And I'm like, yeah, but we're going to probably win on the PlayStation side because there's 10 people in that event. I'm like, we've got the biggest console base. I'm playing just because there's only 10 people on two trophies for some reason. I don't know why that is, but the overall base is huge compared to you.
It's 100% true. That's the thing, is that like Xbox has been on the back foot, and they've made a good recovery, right? Especially with the series release. But they're still losing 3-1, right? Like in terms of sales, which is why there's that big pivot towards only reporting on player numbers and Game Pass, because that's where they make the money. They've decided that Sony's gone, we're going to go expensive first party, third and second party exclusives on our system, and Microsoft has gone, fucking play every game you've ever heard of and ones you haven't, and and just get into it. And we'll make a bit of money every time you do.
We should bring that up too. It's like already been a year for the series consoles. Like we're already a year into this generation.
That's so fucking weird. I can't. how many next gen games have we actually played? I'm talking about stuff that's only available on next gen across any of the consoles.
The medium.
Yeah, the medium is like the one I can think of.
Well, it's the problem is like they're not exclusives. I think of Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah,
but it is available on Xbox One as well. Like
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so a Series X
or PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Yeah, there's a few on the PS5, probably more on the PS5 now than the Xbox.
Sure.
But not a lot. You're right. There's not like a massive amount.
But I think Xbox is always going to be, not always, but like will be the gradual thing for the next little while. And then maybe 2023 we'll start to see that divide.
I mean,
it's possible, yeah.
Will they? I don't know, because I remember the original talk was Microsoft said, "Oh, everything that we bring out in the first year is going to be on the old console and the new console." And then after that, all bets are off. But they didn't bring anything out. They didn't release any fucking games. Like it's gonna be Forza, and it's gonna be Halo Infinite, and that's it, basically, right?
Well, what have we got coming up? We've got
Fable,
which is probably going to be 2023 by this point.
Yeah, it is 100%.
Upcoming
Perfect Dark.
Oh, I had
Everwild.
That's a good transition. I actually had. Let me just bring it back up. I had the article the other day about what not Obsidian, Compulsion's working on.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. From
so we'll go into that. So, Windows Central had an article on Xbox exclusives revealed: Project Midnight from Compulsion and Pentiment from Obsidian.
Okay.
So, Compulsion joined Microsoft near the start of the content acquisition spree. The firm, known primarily for We Happy Few, which despite some gameplay problems, delivered big in the art direction department. We Happy Few's twisted version of a fallen Britain provided a truly intriguing concept and solidified Compulsion as a studio with a lot of potential. Recently, we received some details on Compulsion's first outing as part of Xbox Game Studios. Codenamed Midnight, the upcoming title is supposedly a third-person action game set in a dark and fantastical world. Some of the game's early concept artwork can be seen above, which Windows Central article.
It looks like some Victorian scary stuff. It looks fun.
Coming-of-age tale drawing upon inspirations from America's Deep South.
All right. I mean, like, I obviously they're all working on stuff, right? But I feel like I don't want to bitch and moan too much, but that's kind of what we do here, right?
Do you want me to go through Pentiment first?
Yeah. Sure.
So Pentiment is the indie one that indie's small style effort team, led by Josh Sawyer, famed for his leadership on what is arguably the best Fallout game, New Vegas, as well as Pillars of Eternity. The game is called Pentiment, which refers to an underlying image in a painting, especially one that has become visible when the top layer of paint has turned transparent with age. The naming convention hits in the game's premise, by which you act as an investigator in 16th century Europe, uncovering the truth behind a grisly murder.
Cool. All right, like that sounds great. Like, the thing is that like we've been hearing about this acquisition stuff, like since it happened a couple of years ago, right? And it was, okay, where are the games? It's like, okay, well, we're going to announce this, and this. When are they coming out? What do we know about them? What's happening? And I feel like we were like, okay, end of this year is going to be the big one. They're going to have a lot coming out. And I feel like you mentioned how it's been a year since the series consoles came out. I don't feel like we're any further ahead than where we were back then. And I know, I understand why.
I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing, though.
I fucking do. I
know.
I understand why it's happened. Like I get from a like pandemic, microchip, processor, all that kind of bullshit. Like I understand the things that have led to this. I'm still not fucking like I'm not blaming anything for it because it's just the reality of the world we live in. But I still fucking think it sucks, and I really feel like if you had bought a Series X now as opposed to a year ago, there is almost no difference. Like I have not found a compelling reason to buy a next gen console, at least on the Xbox side. PlayStation has a few. The PlayStation 5 for all the shit that we give it does have a few things that I'm interested in, like in terms of like Ratchet and Clank, and I like the Demon Souls remake and a few other bits and pieces.
My problem with that is availability, though.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
part of it.
Purely because like, sure, I'd love to go out and play Miles Morales or Ratchet and Clank.
I mean, Miles Morales you can still play on PS4, but yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna. What's the other one that came out? Returnal.
Oh, Returnal, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that people keep on going on about, but I just don't seem really interested in.
Yeah, it's a roguelike. I'm not. Really interested.
But I can't justify paying a scalper like what.
$1,500 to... And that's a whole nother thing, right? In terms of like availability of the consoles and people being fucking assholes about it. But
yeah, but I think it's the same with the Series X. It's definitely the same with the PS5. Like, I have multiple PS4s. I haven't turned one of them on since I got the 5 because it plays the PS4 game so much better. So like, sure, that maybe not enough games, but it makes the old games look better or run better. So that's good.
I would agree. Like, I think
that's
like,
a reason.
Like, I love my Series X, right? But I still probably wouldn't have bought one. I mean, I got one obviously for doing Hall of Fame, right? But if we were at this spot now and I was like, am I still going to buy one? And it's the same price as launch, basically, I would have still been like, nah, it's fine. I'll wait another year. I'm not seeing it.
So you would rather be forced through. This is going to sound really crappy, but you'd rather be forced by having a game that is exclusively available for the next gen than.
But basically, yeah, I want things that are made for next gen that aren't held back by the previous console. Yeah. And I know that's not Microsoft's strategy, but but part of it is that the reason it's not Microsoft's strategy is because they don't have a fucking choice because they only just got the One and the One X user base to enough size that they can't afford to just fucking torpedo the shit out of that to move on to the next one. Whereas the PS4 is like, well, we'll do a little bit.
Sony's attitude is pretty much just like, you can't get a PS5 for like whatever. Like we're still making them. Whereas an Xbox is just like, well, you can't get a Series X at the moment. Like, we still want to give you this cloud gaming. There's Xbox One. It's having those options. You don't hear about Sony going, well, you can stream your PS5 games on a PS4.
True.
No, but that's the clever thing that Microsoft and Phil are doing is that they can't. You can't beat Sony at the moment. You're not going to get a big enough shift of the players across. So and Sony's making a closed system. They're doing it in multiple ways, but it's always been like that, but it's definitely that now. That's what they're going for. And Microsoft's best move is to make an open system. And it's ironic because everyone on PlayStation is like, oh, you have no exclusives on the Xbox. You can play it everywhere. You can play it everywhere. But that's going to be the selling point, and that's going to be the attraction, that it's an open system. And yes, that brings risks and, it brings lack of exclusives, potentially, whether they'll be able to attract developers, but they have been able to at this point. I'm not talking about the ones they're buying, but Annapurna has a much closer relationship with Xbox than PlayStation. Yeah. A lot of these indies and through Game Pass or whatever, and Sony is continuing to move down this line, which is fine. It works for Apple. It definitely can work for them, but they're hedging their bets. And this is the biggest mistake they're making is they're building their empire on exclusives, and they're now starting to bring those exclusives to PC. And that's a really dicey, that's a dicey thing because there's a lot of people like you that only want to play 4 Sony games. If you can play it on PC, because you don't care about trophies or whatever, you want to play the game, you'll play it on PC. You're not going to spend $6, whatever the PS5 costs. You've already got the PC to do it. And that's their selling point. And I don't think they realize, because on a raw power, it's not as good. Like I have both. It's not as good as the Series X. And, 90% of the games are available on both. So, they're going to need those games going into the future to attract to keep the base.
But the problem is that Sony have also realized that because they've backed themselves into this corner, they can't afford to avoid the PC market, right? The PC market is like, especially because Japan is so weak on the PC side of things because they just don't have a big PC audience over there, in order to get more appeal into the West, especially because people can't buy PS5s because you can't fucking find them for love nor money. Yeah. They're like, okay, well, we need more revenue streams coming in. The PC is the growth market because we sure as fuck not putting these games on the Xbox, and the Switch can't run them. So it's like the PC is really the only other avenue, and we have people clamoring for it, and we know people will buy it. But you're right, it runs the risk of diluting it, and also pissing off your original fan base. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the biggest, like the other issue is that it's a Japanese system, a Japanese company that wants nothing to do with Japan. And, a lot of these people that love it so much were PS1, PS2 players predominantly of they played these Japanese games and Sony is so hell-bent on becoming an American, facing company and American things with everything that they're, which is amazing to see these Japanese developers coming and porting their stuff to Xbox. Like you got AI Somnium files. Amazing
exactly,
game.
yeah.
The other day, you've got this link with the Final Fantasies. Like Phil needs to do something about 14 because that game will take off if they could get that to Xbox too. There must be something going on that it hasn't, but hopefully. But he's making inroads into Japan while Sony are pulling out. So they're investing so much in this American market, a market that doesn't, necessarily like closed systems. They like, choice, like the openness, and it's such a big gamble, and it's a gamble they can take because they have this massive player pool. But what happens suddenly if it's just so much better it's cheaper on the Xbox? I can play all these games, so I'm going to buy an Xbox as a second console. PS6 comes around because Sony's invested in hardware. They have to keep making them. Microsoft doesn't, but Sony will have to keep making consoles. They have no other choice. What happens when, now I've got the PC, I don't need to buy the next Sony console because I can, and so you're not going to lose this generation, but they will slide backwards with that Japanese thing for sure, especially if Microsoft makes inroads, but they will in the next one. And that's what's selling me on buying the next PlayStation, when I can play them all on the Xbox plus on the PC. So that's the real danger I think they have.
Exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's interesting to see that the change that Sony's been going under, because they've become a more European-centric company, right? Like that's the thing. Is it's a big change for them in terms of like their heads and who's running stuff and who you see at press conferences. Is like they don't trot out the Japanese developers anymore for the most part. It's oh no, this is a European thing. We've got some Americans on board obviously because we've got big Santa Monica studios and that kind of stuff. But it's like the Japanese part of Sony it's very interesting to see how like Sony is a Japanese company, but PlayStation is very much not. Like that the PlayStation part is very much a European, or like attempting to become a more European because they want that wider mass appeal. But what are they losing in the process? That Microsoft are potentially gaining. Hopefully, because I love Japanese games. Like you were talking about, like PlayStation 1 and 2. Those were like the PlayStation 1 was my first console, and the PlayStation 2 was when I started really getting into games and learning about how they were more than just shit that I wasted time on. And like some of my favorite games and some of my formative years around like how I got into gaming were like in those early teens through the PlayStation 2. When I was broke and had to be very careful and play the shit out of the things I had.
It's hard. Like a lot of people don't realize, but there's some great books written on this, and Nintendo and Sony and the falling out and how it all went down. But a lot of people don't realize is 7 years ago, the only thing really floating Sony was the gaming thing. Everything else was really going down. Now it's corrected itself and whatever. But I think that led to this push from Japan, and people go, oh, I don't play Japanese games anyway, it doesn't matter. But what they don't understand is that the censorship that's now creeping in to Sony is because the Japanese games are disappearing. Maybe you don't play those extreme games, but those extreme things are, if they're allowed, that allows a little bit of creep on the Western games because they'll never creep that far. But by Sony eliminating those games, and that Senran Kagura, I know you don't really get those games, but they've been pushing to the Switch now for the last few years, and they did release their game on PS4, but they have no interest in a PS5 version, and they did fight the censorship and lost there again. But the only people that seem to have won the censorship against Sony is the Bandai Namco with that Scarlet Nexus, and they just said, well, that's it. No fucking game. It's either this way or it's nothing. And Sony clever enough to back off there. But already Bandai is now shifting to Xbox a little too, with the Tales game. Like what an amazing, because you guys gave Tales no love before that game. So, but they came back and they did it again. So yeah, it's those little things like that are going to creep out, and this crossplay too. It's like, you're going to lose all this by going down that path. And it's worrying.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't see what the alternative is for Sony though, right? Because I feel like they've kind of made their deal with the devil, and now they're just kind of paying for it. Like, who knows? Like, again, things change so quickly in this industry. Who the fuck knows what could happen? But it's just really interesting to see how things have shifted, even over the last just couple of years with the new consoles coming out and all the build up to them.
Well, it's good that wherever you sit on the fence, it's really good that there's two strong players now for everybody. And the ironic thing is maybe Nintendo will run away with it all in the future. But, they're like Nintendo is, well, they like the quality control of the two systems. Maybe not so much now, but they were. And it's a really good dichotomy of the three. So as long as they stay healthy, and those weird people on the PC with their red tube, they stay strong as well. We'll be fine. But if one gets too strong, we're all in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like competition is good for the consumer at the end of the day.
Course.
And these are all big faceless corporations that would fucking kill us for money anytime. So, like at the end of the day, like if they could, we would be working the Microsoft Asteroid or the Sony mining camp, like whatever it needs to be. Like they would do it in a heartbeat. So like whatever, fuck them all. Down, saves the means of
blood rare achievements.
Exactly.
And such.
Yeah.
So true.
We want to just move on to what we've been playing because we've been.
I'll quickly just touch base on the other stories because they're pretty much like one sentence news stories. Jeff Grubb recently announced on his Giant Bomb show that the 1 vs 100 is definitely in development at Microsoft.
Great, love that.
At Outspace VR, which is part of Microsoft's mixed reality division. The original run back in 2009, which one player was placed against 100 and which made up the mob and the rest making up the crowd. The one had the opportunity to win 10,000 Microsoft points, while the remaining members of the mob split the winnings and each received a free game if they're able to defeat them. It's a great idea. People loved it. Yeah, people loved it. Definitely great to hear it's back in development. I really wish this is one of those things though that is not done as a one-off. It is a continuing thing.
It'll be continuing until it's not. I think, and that's kind of how 1 vs 100 was, right? It was around for a bit until they stopped doing it.
How quickly did it die off though? Like it was
a few months. They did it a few times, so like it wasn't like one and done, but it wasn't around for a long time. But a lot of people have fond memories of it.
And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere before it. The Microsoft Teams VR experience that they're showing off like a week or two ago. Okay. There was a VR experience they were showing off for Microsoft Teams. It will utilize the 3D avatars from that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You probably won't have legs in this.
Yeah, great. Perfect.
Cool. So that's a little bit of quick news. The other one was we got some teasers from BioWare on a new Mass Effect game. It's good to hear that Andromeda did not completely destroy the franchise.
Yeah, they announced a little while back that they were working on a new project. I mean, it seemed a bit premature considering they still haven't put out. We haven't seen anything for a Dragon Age 4 in a while, and they still haven't put that out yet. It's been in development since 2017. Well, I guess Anthem. After Anthem, yeah. But okay, yeah, cool. I mean, like I love Mass Effect. I'll have a look at it when it comes out, but it probably won't be until towards the end of this generation at this point.
Bought the trilogy recently. I've got to start playing it at some point and actually sit down and play Mass Effect. What was the other news? We had that. We covered the 1 year anniversary of the Xbox Series X and S. What was the other one? Xbox PC app updates. So the next update for the Windows PC Xbox app, the team has been working on giving players a more personalized experience when downloading and playing their games. The app has now been updated to allow you to choose the drive a game installs to and where the default folder goes within the drive. Which is so...
I was going to say, you mean the thing that I've been doing since fucking Windows 95?
Yes.
I'm glad they've re-added that brand new feature.
It is such a pain in the ass that my game's always installed to my solid state drive. Because I've got like I mean, you know how much of a pain in the ass it was not to be able to just go like, all right, 250 gigabytes solid state drive with most of my files and that on it. 1 terabyte hard drive, which I do most of my gaming off. And then it just automatically just swaps to the solid state drive.
Yeah.
It's such a pain in the ass.
They're making it more like Steam, which is the right move, I think. Like it's the thing they should have been doing for ages, but I'm glad they're doing it.
Cool. And quickly, the Game Pass details. We had Football Manager 2022 join on the 9th. We had Forza Horizon 5 join on the 9th. We had Grand Theft Auto join today. We had One Step from Eden come in today. And we had Dicey Dungeons come in today. Next week, we'll have Undungeon come out on the 18th. And we will have Deer Simulator, your average everyday deer game, being added on the 23rd.
Fucking, oh, well, I know what I'm doing for my 1.9 million.
Yeah. Just like Goat Sim. Oh, yeah, now it's just Deer Sim. And the Gunk, which was announced for December 16th off the top of my head.
I'm super excited for that. Yeah. It looks really good.
Yeah, December's going to be good. I'll be definitely playing Halo on the gunk. And then just games leaving, which will be 3 days away. If you're listening to the audio version, they're probably leaving today.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VIII, 15th, Planet Coaster, Star Renegades, Streets of Rogue, The Gun Between, and River City Girls. I don't think I've seen anybody complete Planet Coaster.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a long completion.
Yeah, good game. I dived it a while ago.
Cool. Of course you did.
Yeah.
Cool.
Games we've been playing.
Yes. CJ, do you want to go first? What have you been playing recently, mate?
Well, I played on the Xbox. I played Judgment finally. That had a boost on the. I think it has a Series X version or something, or maybe.
Yeah, I think it has like a 60 FPS version.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any difference, but so I played that. It was awesome because I like the Yakuza. I like that one. But then I played. It's awesome when you're behind in a series because then I just went straight into Lost Judgment and finished that the other week, and you definitely got to play the first one if you're going to play the second one. Even it's set a few years after, but it's great. It was really good to see how the game had developed. There's one of the things like there's obviously a ton of crazy shit in those Yakuza games and time consuming stuff. But one of the problems I have with those games are when that stuff, and the Assassin's problem too, like you're trying to do the story and then there's this, and you get so distracted that, or you got to do certain things to progress that the story becomes so disjointed. And in the Judgment, like they're a spin-off series, but they really separated the story from the mini stuff completely. So there's no progression tie-over. So you can just mainline the story, which is awesome, and you know what's going on, or do all the other stuff first if you'd rather do a lot of it first, then do the story. So that's great for achievement hunters or whatever too. But the second one is good because not only do you have, for me, it was a better story, I thought, but then you have these school stories, where you go into the school and you sort of become a counselor for different Japanese clubs in the afternoon. And so in effect, this becomes like your side quests and, with each of the little clubs, and that there is a bit of tie over within them. So you have to do them in sort of in order to build ability points to open up more clubs. But again, completely different from the story. So you don't have to touch it if you just want to do the story. And it's a good play because a lot of that busy stuff in those games, play the mahjong, drone races, whatever, it's a bit boring. Now they put it into like a story. So there's like a story in the club, and now you do the drone racing or whatever. So it's good, and there'll be some DLC, I think, for the first time for these games coming next year. So potentially something to look forward to if you're interested. But really, really good series if you don't want to drag through Yakuza, because you've played you've skipped most of them.
I played but not seen any of them.
I've played like the tiniest bit of Judgment. I really liked it. The only thing that really didn't gel with me was the chase scenes.
Yeah, dreadful and way overdone. Like it's like we found one mechanic, now we'll just do it 1,000 times, and it is way better in the second game. But it's sort of weird because they don't use it as much, but they give you the option to hold the A button or X button if you get seen, and then you just disappear for some reason, like you're on your phone. So, the other night I was there and I'm trying to stay close to the guy, and the guy doubled back on me. So I was just standing right next to him holding the button, and I was like, this is a bit ridiculous, but it's fine. It's game logic.
Just good old newspaper.
Yeah, but they sort of
the eye hole cut out. Yeah, exactly.
They've also doubled down on those running scenes too, where a character takes off and you play like the running mini game, and they've developed that. So it's cool, it's good, but it's a much faster paced series on the stories, so it's good. And like your Japanese. And then just for Cameron, I'll just throw one more axe. I don't want to bore you. I played big racing week, obviously, with Forza, the quality of all these things. So I thought it would be the perfect time to try the new Fast and Furious game. Released on the same. It released on the same day, but doesn't get any coverage of pub. Oh, look at this. Go on, Azzy.
Cameron as always forgets that most of our listeners are listeners and not viewers, but whatever.
You mean this silly piece of trash?
No, there's a new one.
Oh, yeah, the new one. Oh, crap, yeah.
So this is Have you played that one yet? It's
no, it's still
wonderful.
Still still.
But what about all the multiplayer? You'd never be able to finish that.
Oh, wait, hang on. No, did I play the original one? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I played a Fast and Furious.
Did you do Forza Horizon 2 meets the Fast and Furious? Because that was like a 3-hour completion.
I also definitely did that.
Well, that Crossroads is great. Like, not if you're a completionist, because the multiplayer. It's the only game where you need 8 people to start the game.
Was it worst? It was voted like worst game of like 2020 or 2019 or something.
I did Fast and Furious Showdown apparently back in like 2013. Oh my god,
when they were decent-ish. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's a long time ago.
Who do you think the publisher for it, Fast and Furious, is the new one?
Oh, it's some kids publisher, isn't it?
It's yeah. Oh no, it's. I was sure I saw it under Outright Games or something.
Yeah, Outright
Games.
Yeah,
it is Outright Games. Okay, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, but it's like at least that one you held up has a story. They don't even bother anymore with that. It's just 5 missions with 4 races on each, and But anyway, it's an easy plat, I'm told. So.
All right, that's all right. I mean, hey, an easy plat, maybe.
But if they had the marketing budget of Forza, it'd
yeah, sure. I mean, yeah.
But it's wonderful, because I thought, most of the world will be playing Forza, so I should play this.
I mean, it was either that or was it Garfield Kart? I think are the only 2 other options.
Yeah. Oh, Garfield Kart. Yeah, but no, I thought that but we've been in a rut. I know you hate racing games, so I'll throw one more out. But they had the NASCAR. I think you avoided that one, Cameron. The NASCAR Ignition. There hasn't been a good NASCAR game in years, and you can tell
the games where they just drive around in one straight circle.
Yeah, the Forza series. I played it.
Oh. Well, this game is funny because it had more marketing budget behind it. I think it came in full price, and they were clever not to show too much footage. And the game itself, like these games are okay. If you play with a wheel, they're okay because of the vibration. It's quite cool. But it's like the Heat series, even though it's a different publisher, but they stripped out the career. So the racing is fine, but there's just no career. Like there's no reason to do each race now. They don't even have the semi-balance of a career, which is just bizarre. But what I like about it is that the NASCAR gaming fans have been so burnt by the iterations that their assholes pucker every time the game comes out. And I got 6 messages that day because I played it on the day it came out. 6 messages. Is it any good? Should I buy it? From all these different people. And like, I'm scared. And I'm like, you should be scared.
Oh, I said Fast and Furious controller.
Yeah, of course, again, Cameron, like I was saying to CJ before when you stood up, is that this is mainly an audio podcast, Cameron. So every time you show something, I need to fucking.
It's just showing off.
Swear to God, Charlotte, I hope you got good clips for this because I'm. Anyway, anything else, CJ, that's jumped out at you?
No. Well, the only other thing, because it's funny you mentioned Neverwinter. Obviously, a massive Final Fantasy 14 player. Endwalker comes out in 2 weeks, so. And you said you log in and like I'm doing exactly the same thing. You log in, you do your raid for a bit of money, and they released with the PS5 SKU that came out, which does look a lot better than the 4. They released a new trophy list, and Neverwinter, you got a proper list with that game. It requires work, but the PS4 list was a joke for an MMO.
It was like just basically the first bit of content. That was it, right?
Yeah, and it's like do 100 dungeons. This game is like thousands of hours, 100, like it's ridiculous. But anyway, so they listened to the community and bent them over backwards with the PS5 list, and they bent them over in ways like 8,000 collectibles and like monotonous as fuck. But hitting the axe and you get like 1 every now and then. So that's going to be like it'll be like you in Neverwinter. Like I don't know if I'll die before I get there, but it'll be a great plat to get, just getting 1 or 2 a day. And because it is like that, you play a little bit, but I'm looking for it. Ran up my DPS character, so I'm ready to go when that comes. But yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, great. Cameron, what about you?
Do you want to cover It Takes Two this week?
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, you talk about it. I'll jump in.
I'll quickly just say, like, me and CJ have been streaming for the last 2 nights. We're up to the Ice World, and I am surprised at 2 things: how good of a co-op experience this is. I think this is the best co-op experience I've ever played.
I would probably agree. Actually, I think in terms of the interactivity and how it all works,
like just how everything feels fun. The puzzles don't feel difficult.
No,
like they take like 2 or 3 tries to get right for the most time. We're doing it guideless, so everything has been pretty good. How creative the worlds are, like the time, everything regulating to time was awesome. Last night we played it.
Yep, that level's my favorite.
We loved what was it? The castle, quotation marks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And and then the whole time, because I'm streaming it, like me and CJ are just like tearing this poor elephant apart, and I'm just
oh god,
I'm looking into it too much because I'm just like, I have a 2-year-old daughter. I feel really fucking bad right now. Like
Yeah,
this is basically just me getting a knife and just stabbing my daughter's teddy bear.
I was gonna say, to be fair, like that scene was fucking horrific.
Yeah,
It was. I mean, it was play for laughs, but also it was kind of like they acknowledged it was fucked up.
Yeah, like there were so many like parts in that I'm just like, these guys are just fucking awful parents.
Yep. Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, you know, oh, they're just dancing underneath the teardrops. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So Charlotte and I, we went through and finished it last night.
Oh, nice.
That game's quite long, actually. Like, there's a lot of content. Like, I might say it overstates its welcome just a little bit. I mean, it's got a lot of good variety in terms of locations and also stuff, but I have some problems with the narrative.
I don't want to say it drags too much. I think it's more so my taste, more so the fact that I want to try different things. Yeah. I want an experience over 2 nights. I don't want to be dragged into 3 or 4.
Yeah, sure. I think like maybe it's a little bit too long, but like not by much. I think it's like, again, maybe like an hour or two too long, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, like I think I love the mechanics. I think that this is made by this, for those who don't know, it's a game you have to play co-op. And it's about two parents who were getting divorced. And their daughter cries on a couple of dolls that she has and makes a wish to a magic self-help book that she found in the trash.
That has the best voice acting ever.
Oh my god, and the worst hip gyrations I've ever seen in my entire life. And they get trapped in the bodies, and they have to basically go through a bunch of trials throughout the houses, like their miniature versions, while they go through kind of like a dream version of their house, and you know, try and fix their relationship. It's fine as like a, you know, it's fine as a like a plot device to drive things forward and get you to experience all this stuff. But I feel like I fucking hated the characters. The couple, I didn't like. I get the idea is that they're supposed to be like an estranged couple, and then like you're supposed to try and, you know, help fix their relationship and they get closer together as the game goes on. But like, I just didn't feel any real chemistry with them at all. I mean, like, we played all the way through, and I was just like, yeah, it just felt kind of awkward. And I just don't know if that's just how they're written or what the performance was like, but I never really bought it. The child looks really fucking scary. I think that's just she looks like she's not Smeagol, but she's like on her way there. Like she's had the one ring for just a little bit too long. You know what I mean?
I found it way too relatable.
Really?
And that's just given my personal circumstances, though.
Sure. Okay, I can get that.
And like and then I get to the part where the tearing the elephant apart, and I'm just like, no, this is just fucking.
It's been an emotional journey for us both, Neo. I can tell you this game, and it's been great playing with Cameron.
CJ's just making horrible divorce jokes.
The game is full of sexual innuendo. That book is way across the line.
Oh yeah, it's massively inappropriate.
But he's like, I didn't realize, and it's wonderful to play with a skilled gamer because we don't have to do the same section 10 times. So, you know, I'm not used to that. You know, and directions. You know, he's very good at telling me where to go, which is awesome. Or whatever else. And but yeah, I didn't realize he would take it so seriously. And I remember that scene where it might have said we might walk in on the bed there and find her swinging from a rope. And you know,
right.
Most gamers would laugh at that, and
I thought it was fun.
That set the whole game. It was very serious. I mean, we had tears at that elephant thing. It was tough.
I mean, that's the thing is that, you know, yeah.
There was a comment I made last night. What was it? What are all the game elements going through at the beginning?
Well, something sad happened, and then you lied and said I needed to go get a coffee, but I could hear mumbling and crying in the corner. So for like 10 minutes. So I'm not sure what that was.
It's because it had been like 20 minutes since he'd unlocked an achievement, and it was he's like, I finished like 5 chapters. Where are my fucking achievements? I mean, I would be trying really too.
Bad at that.
He wasn't using a guide, so how did he know?
Well, we had that, didn't we, with that door early on, Cameron, where you trapped me, and then we had that.
Oh yeah, and then we just
situation.
No, but like it's funny like how like all the different game elements work. Like I love the roguelike session. Like that played.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, like the game, like this is made by the same people who made Brothers, and then they did A Way Out, right? And this is the next logical step for them in terms of like, okay, Brothers was a really good game where you play as two people as once, and it's all about working together. It's very, very simple, and it's like simple top-down puzzles with some really cute, like contextualized storytelling because there was no dialogue. A Way Out was a deeper story with a bit more variety and a bit more of a narrative. And then this was like, okay, we're gonna take this and we're gonna improve the amount of, instead of like the amount of different stuff that you do in this game. Like that's how this game doesn't overstay its welcome, because every half an hour you're doing something new. And it's like, it's really great. Like I love it. It's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but my biggest problem was that the plot driving this, like getting me from point A to B, C through to Z, like that was almost painful in terms of like the lack of chemistry between the two characters, and like the decision making and the plot stuff. And like, I know that it's not supposed to, like whatever. It was basically just an excuse for us to be like, okay, cool. Here's the tool shed level, which is like great fun. You have like all the gags around like the toolbox and stuff. And like, here's like all the acorn shit with the tree. And then the last level was like really, really cool. But like when it was like, oh, you need to find your passion for stuff. I was like, wow, these people, like, if this is their passions, man, these are boring fucking people, because they're not. It's like, oh, gardening is my passion. Is it really? Because like you haven't talked about it this entire game. It just came out of nowhere, and you don't really seem that excited about it.
What about all the innuendos though? Getting hammered, getting nailed.
Oh yeah, I mean that was like Charlotte has a potty mouth and like the dirtiest mind of just about anyone I've ever met. And oh my god, some of the fucking shit that she said when we were playing through that game. My god, I wish we were recording it, because it was.
Don't worry, we were.
Yeah, but it was like, I had a fantastic time with this game, like, and Charlotte did too. I mean, we definitely had some platforming frustrations. I'm not going to say who, but it was, we had some parts where it was a little more difficult for one of us than the other. But jokes aside, like we had a really, really good time with it. And like,
I want to ask you if I can, Nick, just because you brought that up, because that's one of the comments Cameron made when we were playing, is that it's really good, like the puzzles, like, they're not just boring, like you push open, easy puzzle, but they're also not so difficult that you need a guide for it. Yeah. And, so there was very little
balanced.
Very little lateral thought in that game. Like things you didn't have to like make a leap, to get to what you had to do, which was awesome. But then on the flip side, some of those boss fights, like I was thinking, if I played with my partner that doesn't game, there would have been high stress situations, because you needed to be okay with the controller to survive some of those. So it's like, how did you, like, you're obviously a skilled gamer, I'm sure she is too, but was that in your mind, like for just a lay person who playing it, like it would be
100%, and you're 100% right. Like we didn't use a guide. Like the only guides I have up were to make sure I didn't miss any achievements or some of the mini games, right? But in terms of like puzzles, most of them were relatively self-explanatory. I mean, I felt like a bit of a dick, because we'd walk into a situation and be like, okay, you need to move that there, we need to move this there, and then we need to do this. I didn't give Charlotte a chance. I don't know if she figured out the puzzles before I did or whatever.
I'm the exact same.
I was just like, I saw it, and it all clicked for me pretty much straight away. So like, again,
I could hear CJ just going like.
It got to the point last night where I wasn't even controlling my character anymore. He was doing it all. And I'm like, well, you can reach down there if you want. But it was wonderful. Yeah. So Charlotte said she got it as well. So yeah, like we figured out the puzzles like pretty much straight away, because we're used to that kind of stuff. And like we both played a lot of games, and me more than her, obviously, just from sheer years. But like the barrier to entry is probably about right in terms of working out puzzles. Yeah. But you still need some good platforming dexterity to get through that game. Like there's the part with the number blocks that are spinning like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like if you don't have the timing right for that, and you don't get your double jumps perfect, like it's really easy to fuck up on like halfway through it and just fall off and die like repeatedly. So like, it doesn't matter how well you know the puzzles, you still actually have to be able to pull off the platforming sections, which I think is like, they did such a good job of balancing the accessibility stuff in terms of like making so that it's like, oh, if one person dies, the other person can come back. It's like it's not over until both you are dead, and like most of the checkpointing is really good, and like it's like just about any time you get to a flat surface, you're checkpointed, so you don't lose a lot of progress most of the time. So it's like, it's really, really good, but it just feels like like some of those boss fights, especially like in the garden one, where it's like, okay, you need to spray this down here, I need to roll over there, and then you need to keep spraying across to there, and then roll over there and spray over there. So like, it's actually, I don't even know if you guys are up to that, but I think that's probably the next thing you guys need to do. Because like getting used to moving and shooting, which is something that I've been doing forever, and like it's kind of second nature to me. But like a layperson, like
that's really fucking hard to be able to do that at the same time. And like Charlotte's decent at it. Like she's gotten a lot of practice over the last few months of getting back into gaming. So we got through it without any real trouble. But like I can only imagine like if I just got someone who was like, oh yeah, hey, you literally need someone to play through this with.
Do we just have problems with games that involve jumping when it comes to Charlotte?
Wow.
I'm gonna get told off for that.
Yeah, you definitely are. You definitely that might not even make it into the show, mate.
It's on the chopping. But one thing, just on that before you move on, one of the things that I like is because I don't play a lot of multiplayer. No. Okay, sensible, sir. One of the things, because I don't play a lot of multiplayer games, and part of the reason when I occasionally do is I'm always very self-conscious because people know what they're doing and you're slowing people down, whether they be hunters or whatever else. And this game I really liked that because Cameron, he's half the game ahead of me at times and I had to come all the way back. But what I liked is a lot of games in that situation would just fast forward me to him at a certain point. And this game, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have no choice. And I think that's really cool because I don't know if you think this, Cameron, or not, but I'm playing the female character. I think she's easier. I definitely, if you're a bit of a weak gamer.
I think so. I think the male character is designed to lead the game.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like just in terms of some of the puzzles.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I actually like looking through the whole game. I think it's a bit more of a balance, but I can.
I think there's definitely some areas where it's like either character can take the I'm just naturally in any type of multiplayer. I will charge ahead. That's how I am.
Yeah, that's how you are in all games. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's any parts in that game that penalize you for doing that. So if I jumped ahead and go, all right, well, I figured it out. You need to do this, this, and this.
Yeah, but I think the fact that I still have to walk through the level, like I'm not just pushed through. I think that's really cool, and I think I don't know if you noticed this or not, Cameron. Like, there's hunters, you don't stop to see what's going on around you, but there are a lot of little things you can interact with that have nothing to do, and it is a good experience.
The guy in the castle that's stuck in the goop.
Yeah, that's right.
And you just constantly just pull it. It's just like, oh, he's over there now. He's over there, back in the original spot. I'm just like, surely I'm gonna just keep on doing this until something happens. 10 times later, it's just like saying, all right, cool. Nothing's gonna happen.
And that's like they did that with A Way Out, right? Like it had a bunch of those mini games and a bunch of stuff where it's like, oh hey, we can just do some arm wrestling. Why? Oh, just because we can.
Yeah.
And like this game is full of this game is a toy. This game is a toy box with a bunch of different stuff. Like it's a. It kind of makes me wonder like how they design it with the mini games and they set out the story around it, or whether they do the story and then I wonder. I'm really curious to see how they did it because like the amount of variety in those levels is great, and the amount of it pays a good amount of references and reverence to other games and stuff. There's a Rainbow Road joke towards the end of the game that's quite good, which I didn't get immediately. With Charlotte was like, oh hey, it's Rainbow Road, and then like 10 seconds later, like, oh hey, this reminds me of that other video game. I was like, oh okay, right. But yeah, like I had a really, really good time with it. I think Charlotte got a bit annoyed that I kept winning the mini games, but because I'm like as she well knows, I'm a terrible winner and even worse loser. So it was
bloody quick time events.
Oh yeah. To be fair, she beat me on a lot of those. She was like fucking she won the races, and anytime she had to mash a button.
How am I meant to compete with somebody who's done like the Yakuza karaoke? What am I meant to do?
But on the flip side, as I told you, I get confused. I play in the dark. I get confused with the buttons because they're different on the plates. Yes. So I go to hit the X and I hit the A, and it gets.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of the cool things about that game was, and if you're thinking about playing it or whatever, if anyone's listening or whatever, the thing is like, for me, like with my work and stuff, my hours that I play are all over the place. And that's largely why I don't play multiplayer games and get into parties, because I'm either exhausted or been talking all day, or I'm not interested, and you want to break. And so to choose to play a multiplayer game, and it was good that Cameron pushed this game, because I'm sort of like, yeah, that sounds good. A month later, definitely do that. And it
got to the end of October, and I'm just like, I'm buying this game. We're playing it at some point. Next week, Game Pass.
So that was awesome, but it's a good game that, I know there's a narrative, there's talking, but it's a good game to get to know someone better too, because it's not flat out like a Call of Duty, like, shit, I'm going to kill all these things. There is downtime where you can
it's a more laid back sort of it's a fun experience.
You get to realize who the monsters are surrounding you that consist of bone and flesh.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Yes.
But it's like, this is the sort of game, like, you boost, these people boost these achievements, whatever, boring. You can, that person can have no personality you're playing with. That's fine. It's not going to matter. But a game like this, you should pick someone you at least can handle talking to or enjoy, because I think it really intensifies. There's enough of that downtime to do that as well. But now Cameron will say next week when I'm not here, fuck playing with that guy.
It's like,
we got to the ending. He botched the whole thing.
He completely fucked it. Yeah, exactly.
I've actually played the game twice. He's still on the second level.
But yeah, I would highly recommend it. And anyone who likes that kind of stuff, I definitely check out A Way Out. I don't think it's as good, but because it doesn't have all that creativity, but it still has a lot of the same spirit in terms of the cooperative experience that I really enjoyed.
They've only done Brothers A Way Out in this, haven't they?
That's it. Did you guys? This is one of the achievements. On the space level, did you find the radio tower? That has one of the achievements for it.
I don't think
So
I did that.
when you go to the Pillow Fort area, on the top of one of them is like a radio tower, and you can turn the thing, and you got to listen to like 4 radio chats. And one of them is the lead developer guy who was on stage at the Game Awards saying "fuck the Oscars." it's literally just the clip of him where he was talking to Jeff Keighley. He's like, he won the award for like Way Out or whatever.
Yes.
He was like, oh hey, and he was like, hey, oh, can I swear? And he was like, yeah. It's like, fuck the Oscars, fuck him. And
Yes.
I was like, great, perfect. I had such, it was so good.
Because what was it? He was like a German director or something like that.
He's definitely like, he's very European. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think
he definitely directed a few movies. I know that much.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I remember him talking about that.
He's
like,
gone from film to video game show. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. But I'm very curious to where they take it from here, because I like just thinking about it. Like earlier in the year, people are saying like game of the year, and I'm just like, yeah, it looks cool, but like I don't see that yet. Playing it's a completely different experience. I don't think there's a co-op game out there like this.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's game of the year, but I can understand why people would at least put it in consideration.
I want more games like this though.
100%. 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's games like this that will bridge the community more as well, because it's funny because I played that We Were Here, which I know you guys have had forever on the Xbox. Yeah. It's not in the same league, but like I had no one to play. Like this is a funny thing. Like hundreds of people or whatever, but you don't want to play with any of them for a long time. And this guy did the same thing as you, Cameron. He's like, we're going to play it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then we sat down to play. It was really enjoyable or whatever to do that, but a much shorter experience. But as you say, there's been nothing. And then Operation Tango came out. Did you get that?
I've heard good things, but I haven't got around to it.
I haven't played it.
Yeah, it's good. Another good game to play with someone you can talk to, And so it did that with another guy, and now this one. But I think that's really all. I know Way Out, but that's really all there is. And it's a shame because, I think there's a lot of mature gamers that they work long hours or whatever, and they're not going to always jump. Like I know you're in the party all the time, which is awesome, but there's a lot of people aren't going to do that or whatever else, and there's also sometimes too much drama to keep up with in parties with people you don't know, so it's not worth it. But even just I don't understand why there isn't like one of these games every 6 months, even if it's not published, polished. It would encourage me to play more, I think, with other people as opposed to. Like, I know you're a giant bomb listener, Neo, and I love that. I think it's Kirsten. And he's like, I'm not fucking talking to anybody. Fuck them. I'm not playing with anybody. And I'm like, that's an age thing, because you get to the older you get, you're like, oh, fuck people. And, and you just, you're happy playing by yourself or whatever. So, yeah, I love that when he says that. I think that's wonderful. So true. But
yeah, and I completely agree with the We Were Here stuff, because I've played like every time one of those come out, like Kirby, one of our old hosts on RGS. Him and I would always play the game together because we're about the same skill level in terms of games and understanding puzzles. So like we usually will stare at the same book for the same amount of time, brainlessly being like, what the fuck does this mean? And then eventually get it around the same time. So we're very compatible in terms of our skill level, which has been quite good. And so every time one of those games comes out, it's like, cool, we're jumping on that. We're going to do that. Like, because I want to have that cool, fun experience and then not talk to him for like 6 months.
And then
that's exactly right.
Then there's me and Alex when we get up to the maze, get it like off by like 1 second every single time, and then Alex just goes, "No, fuck this, I quit."
Yeah, but yeah, you guys are more like a who's on first style, like that's more like your guys' sort of speed for that, which is has its place and is definitely funny.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun on Sunday when we go back to that. I stream the whole thing and it's just 2 hours of him raging.
I love it.
Going back to what I've been playing, We Happy Few. I went back to that the other day just because I wanted to see how it held up.
Does it hold up?
I only played it for one night. Okay, first off, tutorial is fucking dog shit, going back to. Because it took me 3 hours to realize I could run. And that was the first issue. Going back to, having to like go back to get like lockpicks and that progress for the game. I never like backtracking to get an item that's a, pick up to move on. But the whole time it made me think, this is really a game that should have been done from... they really should have done the medium. Compulsion should have done the medium.
You think?
Or just having that technology. Because...
Well, they have it now, right?
Yeah, you think Compulsion has done Contrast, which is 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
You've got We Happy Few, which is essentially a lens on another world.
Yeah.
And then the medium, feeds into that exact same way.
I guess so, yeah. But I mean, We Happy Few was such a weird game when it came out because it was pitched as, oh, this is Bioshock, but Mad Mod version.
The problem is people having expectations of it, so the game had to change to meet that expectations. And
to be fair, they set those expectations.
Yeah.
They were the ones who put out the trailer. They're the ones who talked about all this stuff, and they showed all the sequences about running away from all this stuff. They didn't show any of the survival bullshit. They didn't show any of the, basically being sir, you're being hunted style, walking around collecting shit that no one cares about and showing that game was a mess when it came out, and I was massively disappointed when I saw it. And then they had to change it to make it more like what people actually wanted, which I know is artistic vision, etc., etc. But if you sell some, No Man's Sky did the same thing, and they changed the game to be more like what they pitched it as. It's not like this stuff came out of nowhere. They didn't just have expectations for no reason.
It still plays fine, and I'm still somewhat invested in the story, but I feel a lot of it's just me making my own entertainment out of it.
Yeah,
because I am streaming, and it's just all right, shit. Well, there's people, it's like any part when you're in a stealth section. It's oh fuck, that dude's chasing me. Same with Outlast. That's why I enjoyed Outlast, because you're just you can make jokes of that.
Yeah.
You just got to watch out for your gamer words. Yeah.
They're a studio though that them because of their art style, and that Contrast was the right length game. It's it's the Tim Burton art style in a game, but you want to watch a Tim Burton movie, but you don't want to watch a Tim Burton Netflix series that has 14 episodes for 14 hours, and that's the problem with that game. It's 3 games. They tried to make 3 different lines or 3 games in one game, and
it's most of the games that I feel that these days just I want that sweet 1 or 2 night experience that I can get majority of the game back, and then if I have to do anything else, it's just 2 hours clean up in the morning.
Yeah, if they went back to that, I think it would be great. But
I have to see how the DLC holds up though. If they're standalone stories that I actually engage with really well, then
I've heard good things.
Yes, saving grace, but yeah.
Anything else?
So I played that. Played a little bit of San Andreas today. The other thing to say about it is it's nostalgic.
Sure.
I'm basically just been a cab driver, so I can unlock nitrous, and essentially not have to worry about doing taxi fares across the whole map. Because as soon as you unlock the whole map, it becomes a lot difficult. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Forza Horizon 5. Not much to say other than I've got 4 achievements missing, and I essentially just need to wait until the series is out for the festival, which will be over the next 3 weeks.
I want to ask you one thing about that, if I can.
Yeah.
Because I know you're an expert on it. So the UI is a bit different
this
time.
Fuck air events. That's exactly what. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know why they did that. But.
Go on, UI.
No. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I thought, well, I'm not an expert on the series, but I thought last time was quite good, so I didn't.
The massive problem I have with it at the moment is essentially just the online. The online is absolutely horrendous. And there's 2 sides of the coin. There's the case of they have 6 million players in the first few days. It's the most successful Microsoft launch ever. But then at the same time, I'm kind of you weren't expecting this a little, and these are your servers, and you're meant to be the leading company for this in the world. I don't know. And then there's just one achievement that I've spent half the amount of time that I've spent on the Forza completion on one achievement, and that's getting level 3 in all the Arcade Alive events, which are horrendously broken. There were some that, like me and Shilly, one of the guys out of the Xbox Achievement Club on Facebook, we like breeze through like really easily, and there's other ones that good luck if you have a party of 12.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Like, and that's your max one. Like, it's like I've been talking to people from AH101, I've been talking to people from AHA, like anybody that I know, getting them into a party playing Forza and just like, let's try and go for it. And then air events will just break. The bullseyes are absolutely horrific.
But they'll fix that.
Yeah, it'll fix. It's just really frustrating though to
of course. Yeah.
Be, one star is what I'm hearing.
It's been really frustrating when you're trying to be first for something.
Oh no, of course. Yeah. But
yeah.
how about the most interesting thing for Neo 2, even though you don't play those games, the most interesting, exciting thing for price modeling of, okay, so early access is nothing new. You usually pay through the roof for it, like 1.5 times. But offering a game at like 3/4 price with both of the expansions, the early access as well on Game Pass. You don't own the game, but it doesn't matter because you can buy it for $5 in 2 years. And that's I thought, like, I'd be interested in what you two think, but I thought that's very clever. I thought very exciting way of doing it.
I mean, I can't, like, as a consumer, I can't support this early release bullshit, because essentially they can put out the game whatever they want. They're essentially just making a couple extra bucks on people's impatience. But
getting the 2 DLC, which you'd buy anyway.
Exactly. So that's the thing, right? But I'm also against pre-buying content before it's out.
Yeah.
So and even if it's a game I like, I can't support that. Even if the content's going to be great, fantastic. Like 50% of the time, it's great, and you're like, cool. I'll buy the season pass, get the game a bit early, get it on a little bit of a discount, even because I was going to buy it anyway. It doesn't really matter. But people have been burned before, and like we've gone through this. We went through like Operation $10, and we went through like the whole season pass bullshit and all that sort of stuff. Like,
look, I think my policy on it is like, if it's a Microsoft first party that I like this, like. You know my love for Forza Horizon. Everybody that knows me knows that Forza Horizon is the one game that I've managed to find in the last few years that I just adore as a series. And like I know that I'm going to buy that DLC regardless. I'm going to get the series completion. If we're talking about Ubisoft doing something with like Far Cry 6, I saw the season pass details. I saw the fact that they're having like 3, 4, and 5 villains come out, and then the first thing I went was like, that's really cool. I'll wait till it's 50% off.
Yeah, I'll wait till it's out, and then maybe I'll pick it up, and if not, I'll wait till it's 50% off, and I'll wait till it even has achievements.
But this is the first time you've had the choice, like, of all those other games you're talking about. You have to pay $150 to get the early access to everything. This is, I can pay $62, which is less than buying the game physical at the moment. I can have early access plus those things. Now, I know if you wait till Tuesday, it's free, but then you're probably going to spend $62 anyway later on. So it's not so much like, okay, buying the Ultimate Edition for $150, which is a commitment. This is almost like, we're just like, well, we'll just get some money here. And I thought, like, $60, okay, I'm going to play that. That's not an issue. $150, okay, I really have to play it if I'm going to buy it.
It depends on the value of the product.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't Forza Horizon, if they were doing this with Halo Infinite and it was battle passes and that, and there's not achievements to it, I'd probably pass.
No way. I wouldn't touch it.
It's true.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like I think that the other thing is that Forza, like I made this joke the other day around, I'm glad they didn't put a picture of any of the cars on the new Forza controller, because they'd have to show up 2 years later and take the controller off you when the licensing deal is up, right? So like,
can they claim a H?
Yeah, all right. Yes, God, that controller looks like shit, by the way. It looks fucking awful.
I love it.
But like, I think that part of it is like, it's also like the FOMO thing kicks in here, right? And it's not so much that it's not a good deal. I see the merits of the offer, right? Like it's definitely like you said, it's a better offer than the 150 deluxe edition of shit from a company that you don't like. It's like, okay, you're getting the game for free. Here's the DLC. You get it a bit early, right? It's the reason it exists that annoys me. It's because like it's the insidiousness of being like, well, like we could have just released this DLC pack for like a reduced amount early on, just to get people on board. But we know that if we add in this extra thing that costs us nothing to get people into the game early, that it'll sell like gangbusters. And like that's insidious and manipulative in a way that I'm just not comfortable with.
But I mean, it's unique that Game Pass is allowing them to get you to pay money for a game you don't own in this way for early access. And I could have waited to Tuesday, paid nothing except my subscription, but I give them, and it's the right price. You know, $100 is too much.
Exactly, right?
Is a beautiful price because I got a few points. Microsoft take $10 off. Okay, it's nothing, you know, and it's very clever. And you know, maybe that doesn't work with Halo because it's multiplayer, the stuff they're adding on. But in the future games that have DLC like this, perhaps it would only work for games they own, obviously on Game Pass. It's potentially, well, look, there are people out there like Cameron, like me, if you like the game, they'll put the 60 down, maybe not the 100, but you know, in advance in that way. So,
you do a few of the Microsoft reward stuff. You do the old Battlefield trick at the moment that gives you a free $5 because for whatever reason there's a stamp card with a free trial. So I mean, you save money.
I mean, like, look, it makes sense, and I think this is going to be Microsoft's model going forward, right? It's because, like, you make up money on, like, it used to be, okay, you lost money on the console, you made up money on the software, on the games, on the attach rate, right? And attach rate was all that mattered. Didn't matter how many consoles you sold, it was how many games you sold with it and how many people bought games after they bought the console.
Yeah.
Now you lose money on the console and you lose money on the game because you're basically giving it away for free. So you make up money on the DLC. It's a good value proposition. I definitely agree. But it's still, I'm still a cheap bastard at the end of the day, and it's still not good enough for me.
But you must have creamed yourself as a marketing man, looking at that, going, "Look at these idiots! Hey, this is beautiful. This is we got to get into this. This is the future."
How can you do that with betting? Can you place your bets now for the future?
Look, look, mate, as someone, well, yeah, how much am I going to make? Well, fuck it, whatever.
Matt's going to do a whole subscription.
I was going to say we're 2.5 hours. My boss isn't going to listen to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, you know, we just had Melbourne Cup, right, which is our biggest day. Like, it is our Forza Horizon launch of the year. For the company that I work for, that I will not be naming, that does betting. But like. Yeah, so like, yeah, absolutely, we took the opportunity to do a bunch of different offers. We changed up the way we market to those customers. Like, it's all like absolutely. Like, as a marketing person, I think it's fucking genius. Like, it's so clever. It makes the money hand over fist, and they managed to get through the thing of being like, oh well, people got a bit burnt on season passes because the content didn't get delivered or the content was subpar. But it's like, but now you're not paying for the game because the game is free. And it's like, so it's like, you don't want to lose money on this.
We had the comment, was it here last week with our discussion? Like, that money you're saving, you're like, oh, well, I've got the money anyway. I may as well just get more content that I was going to spend anyway.
It's the free-to-play insidiousness kicking in a way that we haven't seen before. It's genius.
Of course, yeah.
But the other thing, too, is like, the achievement hunter side of it, I will support Playground Games because I know that they'll fix this stuff. They will be supportive with the achievements. I won't do it for Turn 10 because fuck the Motorsport series. Right,
and that's the thing. Is I think that, like, I understand. Yeah, like I think like CJ said, like, is this going to work for other series? Like, I think this works really well for Forza, but is this going to work well for, like, are they going to do?
Sorry, correction. It works well for Forza Horizon.
Sure, but does this work for Gears of War? Does this work for Halo? Does this work for Fable? Does this work for Everwild or whatever the fuck else they come up with?
Because I think it's the case of...
Look at this guy in your chat here. Ape-like game is free, ape-play game. Does this guy not realize you have no free choice in what you do yet? You don't have a choice what you play,
No, absolutely not.
You turn it on, they put it in your cart. They buy
we live in a 1984 society. Like,
hey, you don't even have to click the button, it's in your cart.
His brother is watching you.
It takes two. Yeah.
There's a checklist that we have on the Holy Gamers podcast. If you haven't been playing Forza Horizon 5 and you don't have number one gamer score in Oceanic, you got no excuses.
So basically, what you so the logical conclusion of what you said is essentially that we have taken the 2-minute hate and stretched it out into a 2.5 hour long podcast.
Yeah, it's good. Our job. Yeah, well done.
I've read 1984. I'm not one of those who said they've read it but they haven't. I actually did read it once.
It's a very good book.
I love it. You'll be like that Atlas Shrugged person. The
next
whole
week.
time ran over us.
Fuck.
I read, there's this guy in Colin Moriarty in the PlayStation one. He's his claim to fame. I've read this fucking book. Good luck to you, mate. Like,
I was gonna say next
it.
week we can discuss Animal Farm and essentially just compare them all to the Sony side of things.
At least you can read on this side over here.
Yeah.
Button. It doesn't work. Money.
It was just a nice book about some animals,
Oh god, I haven't read it in ages, but oh jeez.
I'm more of a Brave New World kind of future guy. That's why, like I said, just put me in the tube and the.
We're just all about our dystopian societies. That's exactly.
I'll work Catch-22 in there next week.
All right, going back. Cyanide and Happiness was the last one.
Oh yes. Yeah.
In terms of the game, it is amazing. It captures, it encapsulates what Cyanide and Happiness is in their clips, and that
really fucked up shit.
Just fucked up shit. Huge humor. Giving nudes to senior citizens from your grandma.
Oh my god.
It's
okay.
that is a quest line.
So they got the tone right.
They got the tone perfect. Unfortunately, there's just a few achievements that are a bit glitchy. I ended up having to play through the game 8 times, which is fine. It's a short game. Like, you can do a speed run in 30 minutes, but essentially I know the game off the back of my hand now.
No, I'll wait for a patch, but it does look interesting. I think it is.
I don't think they're going to patch it anymore from the discussing the server. But it is a good game. The 1K is still achievable. It just seems a bit
buggy.
I feel like if you do one run and you unlock a few achievements, you have to do a new run to keep it going.
Okay, all right.
But 1980 for the week.
Oh, nice. Not 1980. You're only 4 off.
I needed 4 game score just to get it there, but only if.
All right, I'll quickly flick through what I've been playing because we are running a bit long. I finished up Final Fantasy VIII Remastered on the Windows version of it before it leaves Game Pass end of the week. I said a lot about Final Fantasy VIII when I first played through it. It was the first time I played through it last time, so this is just more of a retread. That game's story is fucking terrible. Makes no fucking sense. There's all kinds of inconsistencies. I really don't like the combat system. The one thing it gets right is the aesthetic and the tone. Like, I really like the, not like cyberpunk, but also like not like yeah, I don't know. It's got a weird sort of style to it that I really, really enjoy. It's kind of like I think like steampunk meets diesel punk level, but with kind of like, but with like guns and everything. Like, everyone has machine guns. Everyone's got motorcycles and shit, but also like there's like magic and story and stuff. And it's like, but also like those things. And then there's like, also there's like a magical giant like space city, and you get launched into the lunar orbit, and also all the monsters come from the moon. The game's fucking like a mental mess, but I love the way it looks, and I love the idea behind it, but you can tell it was rushed. And I sure as fuck rushed to get through it because I needed to get that done. But it is good that it has the boosters on it. Otherwise, I never would have got it finished.
You stacked that game, have you?
I did, yeah. So I was,
I tipped my hat to you, so that's
I double dipped it. So I was like, all right. It'll probably be the last Final Fantasy I do that for, because I don't think I'm going to be doing it for 10 or 12. But because those don't have any boosters in them. Those take fucking forever.
I've heard you badmouth 12 before though. You got to get on that game.
Okay, look, I like 12.
12's a good game.
12 is a good game. I mean, it is literally just Star Wars.
12 is my favorite of the series in terms of combat, because you can just gambit system everything.
That's like saying your favorite game is the fucking Godfather because you don't have to play it. You can just sit there and watch it.
No, you play it so well, make everything function so well.
I mean, like,
it's the best if command does this teacher there is out on the market.
As an automation specialist, I understand the appeal. I get it being like, I will optimize this game so fucking well. I press one button and the game plays itself. Like, that is very appealing. But, like...
Are you saying you want problems in your life with your automation?
Is
that what you're saying?
To be fair, problems in my life requiring automation also make sure that I have a job and a paycheck coming through. Because if everything ran perfectly, I'd be shit out of luck.
You heard it here first. He breaks things every 6 months just to...
That is unsubstantiated. It might be true, but I'm not confirming it.
If you can get past all that, that is one of the greatest trophy and achievement lists, I think, because you have to understand the game thoroughly. The times of the day and everything. And it's a great, like, I don't know the rarity. It's rare on PlayStation, but it's not difficult. Like, with the exception of those confuculence things, that's the only thing that gets you. But but aside from that, it's persistence. But it's really understanding how it works, which is
exactly. Like it requires. Exactly. Like it's you have to get really, really deep into it.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason why I like 10 so much is like 10 is my probably my favorite game of all time, maybe potentially. I mean, it shifts, but I think going that heart is so like I mean the shit out of that, and I love that. But it's like it's only got like a 3.1 TA, so like it's not impossible, but it is still an 80 to 100 hour completion. So there's a lot to it. And I'll admit, I have not played a lot of it. Like Final Fantasy 12, I played it on the PlayStation 2 towards the end of when I started having time to play video games, before I transitioned into going nuts on the 360, right? And it was like, okay, I never owned it, but I borrowed it off someone and I played it for a bit, and I got to like, did the first few bits of it, and I really enjoyed it, but it was like, it didn't grab me in the same way, like in terms of the plot, because it is, like I said, literally Star Wars.
They should market that game. Final Fantasy 12 is the responsible man's Final Fantasy 14, because it's about 120 hours, but it's the same. It's an MMO, but it's a single player MMO, and you get out of it with your life and your wife still, unlike the exactly. Yeah, and it has sexy Chewbacca in it. That's right.
What have I been playing? So I played that. I need to go back to 10.2 and that sort of stuff, but we'll get there when we get there. Did It Takes Two, we already talked about. I also played through The Forgotten City, which Cameron recommended.
Karen joke? Does it hold up?
Karen joke's good. I twigged pretty early on though. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I was like, oh, hang on, and then I was because I'm a big mythology nerd like Cameron is. I really like what they did with that game in terms of like, I don't want to spoil anything because like it's a short game. People should go and play it. It's on Game Pass. Neoseeker has a really good guide if you just want to kind of mainline it and find the story.
Except for the last section.
Well, actually, the last section is perfect.
Oh, did they fix it?
No, but it's basically where it says, oh, you should read through all that stuff. It's not you should, you have to read through all that stuff. That's the only thing.
When I read through the Neoseeker guide, they didn't have any mention of that. It was essentially do this command prompt, do this line, and then it was like, I repeated
it's missing one. Yeah. So basically, you have to have done all the other ones where it says, "Oh, do the stuff to get some of the story." You actually have to do those. Like it just because, and like there's also like one other area where it's like, "Oh, you need to answer the door questions, all 4 of them." It's like, no, you actually need to go backwards, do the correct one, and it opens the first time. So there's a minor stuff at the end. But anyway,
this is why it pained me so long about that Karen joke. I didn't want to spoil it for anybody.
It's good. It's really good. It's good. I highly recommend it. I loved it. It's 100% my kind of game. You walk around, you solve mysteries, you talk to people, you be sassy, and then you use time manipulation to fuck with people. And then there's a little bit of combat in there that kind of feels a bit tacked on. They felt like they were like, oh, we need to put something in here to actually justify this. But,
you know what? It's 12 minutes if it was a good narrative.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I mean. Like I really like 12 minutes for the most part. But this is great. I think it was a fantastic game. Highly recommend it. And like I really like the mythology stuff and I don't want to spoil anything, but the building on top of mythologies stuff, I was like, actually that makes a lot of sense and is really, really interesting. And like how the game ends and all sort of stuff, I thought was really, really good. So I highly recommend it. It's a really good bite-sized sort of experience you get done maybe in 1 or 2 playthroughs. And then the thing I've been playing mostly this week is Hitman 3. So it finally went on sale, 67% off. So I was like, I'm going to bite because I just finished 2 and I had the craving because I was like, I was actually really interested in the narrative. And I was like, I want to see where the story goes because 2 ends on like quite an interesting cliffhanger. And 3 doesn't disappoint. Holy shit. The first mission is like great. It's like in Dubai, you're in the like the Spectre, the tallest tower. And you need to take down like 2 basically Illuminati members. And I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite level. And then the second level is you're chasing after the third one. And who's faked her own death, come back the day before her funeral to set up her own funeral arrangements because she has to stay dead. She has to stay dead. And also there's been a locked room murder mystery in the house, and she's hired a PI to come in and investigate and like interview everyone. And you have your old fucking like Agatha Christie knives. Like you grab the PI, they greet you like, okay, here is the room, here is the dead guy. Please examine the whole house, interview all the witnesses, and tell me who committed this crime. And I got to the stage where I needed to. So you have to kill her, and she's the matriarch, and she's the one who hires you for this. And like one of the stories is you be the PI, you solve the whole mystery, and she has a case file that you want. And I had a really, really good thing where I was like, I figured out the case. I went to all the thing. I figured out who the murderer was. And I told her about it. And she's like, oh, great. She's like, what do you want? And you can go like, oh, I want money. And she's like, well, guess what? I'm broke because I had all my money stolen from me by one of the Illuminati members. Or you can go, oh, hey, I want the case file. And she goes, oh, hey, how do you know about that? And she's like, oh, shit. Okay, the only person who would know about that is the crazy assassin who's been going after me. And somehow I didn't see through his disguise, even though he just looks like a bald guy in whatever outfit. And so it's one of the few scenarios where it's like she recognizes that, oh, you're the assassin. Well, fuck, I guess I'm pretty much fucked in this situation. Here's the code to the safe. I'm going to go out in the balcony. Just whatever. And so I just pushed her over the edge of it.
That's awesome.
It's great. Like, I love the Hitman series, and I really like this is. I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's the best Hitman's ever been, but as a trilogy, because again, this still like it has as DLC the original maps from 1 and 2, and plus the expansion for 2. As a value proposition, like it's great. And like all of that stuff carries over. So anything you earn in the first maps, you can use in later maps, and like you can go about it any way you like. They've added a nice little quality of life stuff. They've added something called shortcuts where it's like Dark Souls in that, when in Dark Souls where you open up a door or something, like, okay, cool, that's a shortcut. They do that now. So it's like, oh, in subsequent runs, instead of having to, like, I was in a Berlin mission where I was in a nightclub. I had to dress up as like a delivery driver and like deliver the food to get into this room, into like the bikers thing. I was like, okay, well, now that I'm in there, I can just go and open a door. And next time I can just walk in the door. So it's nice. It's like the game recognizes like, oh, you've done like the challenge, the thing we wanted to show you. Cool. You don't have to do that again. We'll just skip you through that. So like it's those little quality of life stuff that I'm really, really enjoying. I just started the third mission. Basically starts with you being like, okay, you're in Berlin at an underground nightclub. Everything has gone wrong. You don't have any of your equipment, and you have 10 assassins after you. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they are. You need to go and try and find them through context clues and following and looking for people and looking for them. They'll do the typical like secret agent thing of being like walking along, being like checking in, put the hand up to the headpiece. You're like, got him. And so you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you got to try and go through and mark them. And there's a lot of bunch of stuff. And that one of the like stories for that is like, okay, take down the owner of the club, call a meeting, and the guy shows up with him and his henchmen. He's like, oh, hey, 47, because I know it's you, because you're a fucking idiot. Obviously, I know it's you. I'm an assassin. And he's like, hey, me and my 4 cronies are all going to surround you. And you're like, cool. Flip the fucking desk, pull out a shotgun, and just mow them all down. The least subtle thing in the entire world. But the game's like, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Like, yeah, you're an assassin. Do whatever you like. It's like, yeah, you could sneak around and push them off the cliffs and stuff, or, poison them or whatever. Or you could just shoot them all in the fucking face and just walk out of there like a fucking badass. There's even like one of the challenges is called like T-47, and you have to dress up like a biker and shotgun them all like you're the fucking Terminator. Anyway, I'm only halfway through the game. There's still like 3 more levels to go. I'm having a fantastic time with it. Anyone who has any interest in the stealth genre has to play these games. It, like I said, it is more of the same. So if you didn't like 1 or 2, this isn't gonna change your mind. But it nails the really dark humor. The every time you dress up in like a ridiculous outfit and no one sees through it is always hilarious. They're always being like, someone being like, oh, hey, I would kill for one of those, or hey, you're dressed to kill, or this is going to be the death of me. Or they're standing in front of a grave talking about how they're going to be faking their death, and you hit them with the head with the back of a shovel and bury them in their own grave. It's just, it's like the game has a real sense of humor that the game plays itself super straight in its story and then just veers off into ridiculousness. Cause it's like, oh yeah, no, you can play this as like the most cold-blooded assassin in the world. Or you can dress up like a scarecrow and run around and kill people and drop hay bales on them to get a challenge. that's called like, hey, I think it was called like, hey there, Mr. Nice Guy or something. Like it was just some really shitty pun. Like, yeah, I love this series. And like, I think it's a really, really fitting conclusion to like the trilogy that they've made. I really want to see how the narrative ends because I've kind of like, it's coming to a head and I kind of see where it's going. But yeah, I'm really, because I know that IO Interactive are now working on like a James Bond game. And you can see some of that in this, where it's like there's a lot more gadgets, there's a lot more like photograph stuff and like hacking and like breaking into stuff. And like this, I'm really excited to see what they do next with this engine. Anyway, I've waffled on for way too long, but yeah, that puts me at 4,590 for this week.
Very nice.
I just have to ask because I know you talked about it a few weeks ago and you played at and we mentioned it before, the AI Somnium files. You got to the end. You're probably not used to this in Xbox. You don't get a lot of those sort of games. Did you get up and dance?
I did not get up and dance.
Sir.
I did not get up and dance, but I was like, yeah. My favorite thing about that was that I got to the end of it, and like I mentioned this on the show, I was like, cool. Got to the end of it, dance number. I'm super for it. I was like, cool. That tonal whiplash just keeps going even after the credits. Like they fucking nailed it in terms of being like, oh, is this serious? Is this hilarious? I don't even know. And then the fact that they were like, oh, also after the credits, we've just added a dance option to the start menu.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like say new game, load game, options, dance. You just hit it. You're like, oh, cool. We'll just start up a dance sequence. Sure, why not? Anytime you want. Yeah, I love that game, and I really hope that was it like Chunsoft or Spike? Yeah. I really hope that they bring out more of their stuff over there. Like I know they're doing a sequel to AI, and I hope they got some of like the Zero Escape and games like that. I love those weird Japanese games because that's the kind of stuff that like is perfect for Game Pass.
Well, the one you have to play, and I don't know that you'll get to it. It's vanillaware. So I don't know the chance of you ever getting it on Xbox, but the 13 Sentinels, the Iga String.
Yes, I would love to play that.
It's the game of last year, without a doubt, for anyone that likes Japanese games. Yeah,
I heard
playing on PC, even without achievements.
I heard there's some very, very straight. Yeah,
it's a great game.
There was another Giant Bomb one they talked about that I was like, how have I never heard of this? This sounds like 100% up my alley.
Oh, if you liked AI, you'd love that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Cameron, do you want to quickly flick through the leaderboards? And I think we might we might leave the question till next week.
Yeah. So leaderboard, we have Big Nev on 10,560 in third, Fresh Forever in second at 11,190, and Kruger on 12,220 in first. Quickly go through. So we'll leave the question next week. Quickly just shout out. We have a Discord now, discord.io/HoloGamers. Some of the completions posted in there during the week. We had Mark B completing the Dirt 5 with the DLC. Good job. We had Kiku123 doing the very first Among Us PC completion. I was in the party the whole time, and he was just all giddy that he knew this secret method, which is essentially open 15 instances of the same game.
It's the most fucking achievement hunter thing I've ever heard. It was like, oh, Among Us, that social deduction game that I need to play with people. Fuck that, I'm opening 15 of the same game and I'm playing with myself.
That is wonderful.
This is the kind of stuff that Adrian finds, though.
He's nuts.
Yeah. We had Mike with Kill It With Fire that we heard on the podcast last week, and Rapture's got a whole lot, but I want to recognize him for doing Destroy All Humans, which I need to go back to. Great game.
Yeah, that's on my list. I'm sure I'll be Valaking that soon enough.
Yeah. In terms of, so I've said about the Discord. Also, again, going to plug the Discord, discord.io/HoloGamers. I am starting reaching out for review codes of games that I already have, which means I have double ups of codes. And if I have double ups of codes, where do you think they're going to go?
Probably to me, I hope. But
yeah, good chance. So look, be in the Discord. I might feel generous, and you might see some codes dropping from time to time.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, make sure you jump in the Discord.
Word challenge.
Word challenge, yes. So no one's got it yet, which I'm very happy about. So the first clue was that it was a side-scrolling game. We've had some good guesses. I will give this guess. I'm going to be very nondescript and very unhelpful. This is a game that I have played on my Xbox. I'm not going to say which Xbox, but it's the game.
He's already giving way too much information.
No, it's a game that I played on an Xbox.
All right, cool.
That's it. That's all you're getting. It's a side-scrolling game I played on an Xbox. Work it out. Work it out. If you don't know about the word challenge, I've picked a game that's usually relatively obscure. You need to go guess what their game is in our Discord server, as Cameron mentioned. Make sure you join the Discord. We've got a channel for it. You put the name of the game in, a gift pops up, and you win $20. Simple as that. And I give a new clue each week until it becomes really, really fucking obvious.
Yep. What else we got? If you haven't been listening to this on Twitch, what are you doing? Twitch. Twitch.tv/HolyGamersPod. We're live every second Friday, second Saturday. Once again, if you're part of the Discord, you'll know when we're going live. And then I might feel generous here too. I might also drop codes here. Yeah, I might also drop codes here. That's when you meant to continue on my dribble and Cole. Thanks.
I'm glad you said you had that ready, because the next section is you as well with the Patreon shoutouts, Cameron. So.
Oh shit. But yeah, if you hadn't realized, we just dropped a code in the cool. All right, patrons. We have it taking forever to load. All right, cool. We have Adrian Awesome. We have Odrin. We have Cobra Todd. We have Keo. We have Moogle356, Charmander, Kung Fu Skills, Hawkeye Barry, Hack and Pone, Cavalier07, Old Mate Clown, and Big Loving Legend. And just quickly with that, we also have the community challenge on Patreon. That if you're a Patreon member, you can choose out of 3 games that we've carefully selected what you want to be the winning prize for the month. So at the end of the month, we will draw out a prize, or the start next month. I always forget how it works. This is the running gag since RGS.
Usually the end of the month, depending on when the Friday falls. Yeah. But yes.
But we had Cyanide and Happiness and Coda, and it's not letting me bring up the post right now. Something else that I forget.
I don't remember the last one, but Cyanide and Happiness is winning.
It's definitely winning. Look, if you win that code, message me because you might need some help with some of the guides because they're horrible out there. I basically had to hit up a developer.
Wow.
Just to get my last one, which was there's an achievement for getting all the Gotems in the game. And it's just like, all right, there's a light up there. You're not so bright, are you? Got him. And it's just that kind of humor. It's so stupid.
Perfect. We also have our other Patreon exclusive podcast, Lights, Camera, and Action, where Cameron and I, and now sometimes a guest, watch bad video game movies. We record the first part beforehand, talk a little bit about the movie itself that we know about, watch the trailer and talk about the franchise it's based on. Then we go away and watch it and then record the second part afterwards with our thoughts and basically reflecting back on what we actually thought about the movie and what we knew about it compared to what it actually is like. And then we basically have a big shit fight over where it belongs on our ranking list. We most recently put out Street Fighter with Charlotte joining us for that, and we're also going to be recording our latest episode for Sonic the Hedgehog very shortly. So I'm going to try and have that out probably, maybe not next week or the week after, but hopefully before the end of the month. And that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the show. If you want to get in contact with us, you can send us questions and comments and, dick pics or whatever to hallofgamerspodcast@gmail.com.
I didn't even bring up that story. God damn it.
Yeah, no, I know. Right? Yeah, it has happened. At Hall of Gamers Pod on Twitter, Discord, as we said, discord.io/Hall of Gamers Pod, and patreon.com/Hall of Gamers. If you want to help us out in other ways, subscribe to us on a platform of choice, leave us a review, let us know you've left us a review because we don't see them anymore. Tell your friends, word of mouth is always the big one. Talk about us in boosting sessions and your gaming parties. We love doing the podcast. We're also on YouTube if you missed the VOD and you want to catch it there. I do a slightly more curated version of it with some nice intros and outro stuff. But you can find the podcast anyway. If you've listened this long, you probably know how to find the podcast, so I'm not too worried about that. Cameron, if people want to find you, where can we find you?
If you want to find me, you can catch me on Shadowless Edge on Twitch, streaming most nights, except for every single Saturday. You can catch me on Twitter. You can catch me in the Discord. Once again, discord.io/HallofGamersPod. And just on Xbox. Pretty much playing Forza for the next 3 weeks on and off.
Fair. CJ, if for some reason you want to be found, where can people find you?
On the Xbox store or the PlayStation store? but it's the safest bet. But we have a little. It's a little quaint. We don't have all the flashbang that you guys have. Little quaint podcast with 3 of the massive gaming degenerates in Australia on the YouTube. You can find it if you so wish. Don't put yourself out for it. And if you want to see someone that has double the score of Neomaster, a true number 2.
We'll be playing Human Centipede on that podcast.
Oh my god.
No, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. It was about a year since you invited me on before, and I didn't think I would ever come back. But Cameron told me the other night you'd had a lot of cancellations, so you really were struggling. You reached over the gap.
Everybody's just like, we want December.
I tell you what, you're struggling. I saw someone in the chat, right? Why is there so much Sony content?
someone.
I look forward to the invite again in 5 years' time.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to find me, you can find me on Neomaster on pretty much everything. True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. A big shout out to Charlotte for being a fantastic human being and the best mod anyone could ever not pay. And thank you again so much, CJ, for being on the show. You're an absolute delight, and you actually know how to hold a conversation, which I greatly appreciate.
You're most welcome. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed it.
All right, I think that's going to wrap up episode 18. We'll catch you guys next week. See you later.
Bye-bye.